15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He thinks Frisbee golf is the sport of the future. She's sticking with football. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
We get confirmation Aaron Rodgers in this thing for the long haul. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Not only will Rodgers be back next year, Perloff, we can write off now the 2023 season. Turns out that was really never going to happen, according to Rodgers. He was never going to be 100% medically cleared, at least not now, to help them in a playoff push. But he said next year on the table and then beyond. We officially have a Tom Brady situation.
What are you talking about? This is the 8th time Aaron Rodgers has said. This is the 9th time we've done this story because Aaron Rodgers, he gets in total panic mode if he's not at the top of ESPN.com story. Like, what do you mean he's coming? Of course he's coming back. He said this already.
Multiple years.
Yes, he said that already.
Okay, well, this is what makes it different. We know now for sure that even with the Jets being officially eliminated from playoff contention, he's not going to push now to come back.
Yeah.
So the, Achilles watch that we've been on for weeks and weeks, it doesn't matter. He's not going to be coming back. And this is by far the best thing and the best decision that he's making. However, they're going to come back next year and they're going to be not just a better team, because I fully believe that Rodgers is going to be out there, trying to get and lure other free agents, trades, stuff like that. He's going to be out shopping. He's going to be out trying to lobby. He's going to be playing ambassador, trying to get Davante Adams or someone else to try to come and help him. I think they're going to be way under the radar next year. I'm serious. I know that sounds crazy.
You just said they're going to go out and get Davante Adams. That doesn't sound under the radar.
Okay, but the novelty of Rodgers changing teams, that's over. We've already done this. The messy split from Green Bay, it's over. They've mended fences. It appears that everyone's now kumbaya. That's fine. He's got a relationship with Jordan Love. Like, all that stuff is good. We've already done the arriving in Jersey. He's already been to the first basketball game. He's had his birthday party out at the big club. He's done all these things that when star athletes come to New York, they sort of do and kind of get out of the way, if you will. Like, he's already here. We don't get the newness. They're not going to be on Hard Knocks next year. Next year, it's going to get to be, I think, more about football than it probably ever has been for the New York Jets. And I think that's going to help. They're going to be, I can't say under the radar. He's too good of a player for that. That'd be like disrespectful. He's a 4-time MVP. But he is not going to be the top story like it was this offseason. Last offseason.
So you think the media is not going to be obsessed with Aaron Rodgers?
I think that we're going to move on. I do. And it's not just a media story. This isn't just about the media. I think this is about the fans as well. The fascination with Aaron Rodgers, just like at the very end with Tom Brady. Yeah. Tom won the Super Bowl when he left New England and went to Tampa Bay.
Right.
And that was amazing. And everyone was watching and bated breath. And could he do it without Belichick and all that stuff? And then he did it. And then the next Brady year, we were like, all right. And they went back to the playoffs. And then the next Brady year, was like, okay. And then we were kind of done with Brady, right? And that's what's going to end up happening here with Rodgers. Like, we did the big, wow, him in a different uniform. The season gets totally sidetracked because he tears his Achilles 4 plays into the year.
Yep.
And now it's going to be more about football next year. And the football stuff is what's going to lead the Aaron Rodgers, not the off-the-field stuff.
No, what you're discounting in this whole formula here is Aaron Rodgers. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to let people forget that Aaron Rodgers is still playing in the NFL? He is going to make sure he is still the number one story. He has an innate ability to do that, and I think he likes it. He likes the attention, and I don't even know the under-the-radar thing. Maybe the fans will move on. The media is not moving on. This is Aaron Rodgers in New York, and also we haven't really seen him play, so I do think there will be that newness to see him actually play more than 4 snaps. So I do think that's all there. But the bottom line is Aaron Rodgers will not let us forget him. He will not go under the radar willingly.
I think
he will find a way to pop his head up. He always has.
He's a star quarterback, and I think fans now, forget the media for a second. I think fans now are like, wake me up when he's actually playing meaningful games. Wake me up when he actually can be playing meaningful football. Then I'll give Aaron Rodgers some of my time. But I think for now, people are like, all right, he's kind of kooky. He's talking, clearly wants some kind of media career when he's done playing, but I don't care about any of that. Wake me up when you're relevant. And that's going to help the Jets. That's going to help them because there's like a fascination part. There's like a media fascination, but the more thing about the Jets is you're always waiting for the embarrassing headline. Geno Smith gets punched in the face. You're always waiting for this, Robert Saleh has his text messages leaked by a New York radio host. You're always waiting for this next embarrassing moment where they stub their toe. And I think with Rodgers in the building, less of that stuff is going to happen if he's actually playing. And to be honest, it's kind of like a cry wolf thing. Like, you've been telling me how great this is, Aaron. You've been telling me how motivated you are. Let me see it. And I'm not going to really buy in until I see some actual proof and returns here. Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers has a different plan. The Aaron Rodgers formula is he likes to upset the apple cart. He did it in Green Bay. They drafted Jordan Love. He sort of simmered for a year. Then he just went all out on the franchise. Started a war with Brian Gutekunst.
Yeah.
That was in Green Bay. As low profile a town as you're going to have in the NFL. In New York, there's just no way. He's going to be speaking so much that he will say things that keep him on everyone's radar. There's no under the radar with Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't exist. That's anywhere. Then you add him in New York, and then you add the fact that we haven't seen him play yet. He is guaranteed he's going to be the number one story coming into next year. We might not know how he's going to do it, but he will say something where he's going to steal all the headlines, and people are going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers based on history. Because even if it wasn't the Jets, it'd be somewhere else. Aaron Rodgers would be the story next year. I guarantee in August, Aaron Rodgers is going to get more attention than any other quarterback in the NFL.
I'm going to disagree. So let's hear from Rodgers yesterday. He's on Pat McAfee, as he does, about saying next year is not going to be his last year. Cut 5, please, right?
I don't think so. I felt like when I came here that I got kind of a renewed passion and love for the game. And everything has been amazing here. Just the people I've gotten to work with, the relationships I've gotten to form with my teammates, and the amazing men and women that work here at One Jets Drive has been really special. I wanted, at least 2 years. I feel like this year is kind of a lost year now that I only played a couple snaps and wasn't able to go out there and improve what I'm capable of and see what we're capable of as a team. I don't think next year will be my last year.
And not only that, thinks that he can be great into his 40s.
With some of the things that I've learned over the last year, taking care of my body and surrounding myself with some great people who've been helping me with my nutrition and my functional training at a more acute level, I feel like I can play more years and I can be effective into my 40s, which is crazy because I thought that I'd probably be sitting on a couch somewhere at 40, but now I want to be a starter at 40. I want to be a starter at 41. I want to see what I can get out of this body.
There you go. And it's got to be more about the football if he's going to make good on any of the big promises that he's delivered. You take the kooky Aaron Rodgers, you take the odd off the field stuff, you take the darkness retreat and all of that, but it's only predicated on the greatness. Right? That's all it is. We're only here for Aaron Rodgers because he's an all-time great quarterback, and we want to see what he can get out of his body into his 40s too. If he can't keep delivering on the field, if his body starts to break down, if it goes through another injury season or whatever, we're all going to move on. The novelty of Aaron Rodgers with the Jets is quickly waning.
But aren't you dying to see what he actually plays like with the Jets?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The football part, but wake me up when I actually get to see that. Wake me up when I actually get to, experience Aaron Rodgers in any sort of winning environment.
Well, I think that the novelty of him playing football has not worn off because we didn't see him this year. So I'm very curious if he can help a team that's never been good on offense be good on offense.
Yeah.
So I think the football novelty still exists. I understand what you're saying that we'll eventually get bored. I don't think the reason that the Jets were bad at football was because Aaron Rodgers was going to plays and nightclubs and doing the New York stuff. I think the dude got hurt.
No, that's it. Yeah.
I think he would, because he's always had a full life and been able to be good at football. Remember in Green Bay, he's spending the off seasons with Miles Teller on islands. He was still coming out back and balling. So I don't think people are losing faith that if he's on the field, he's going to be good. I just think that, he will say something. So he's going to be in the news. You're not going to forget that Aaron Rodgers is going to play. And I hate to say it because I find the Jets a boring team. He's going to get huge ratings. I mean, the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers is actually on the field and he's at week 1 against Miami, I mean, it's going to get millions of eyeballs. There's going to be a lot of curiosity what he actually plays like.
It definitely will be, but that's because we want to see the football side of it. I'm saying the other part of it, like him having celebrity relationships, him being out and about in New York, being man about town, we've already done that. Like, it's not novel anymore. Him going and sitting courtside at the Garden, multiple nights in a row, like nobody cares. And no one's going to care anymore because he's already done it. Him going to Taylor Swift, nobody cares anymore. We've already seen that part. Now it's got to be about the football part. And yeah, people are going to tune in, but I think fans are mostly like, listen, I'll tune in when he actually plays, and then we'll see what happens. As far as like the excitement, the circus around Aaron Rodgers, like I think that pretty much goes away.
I don't think that circus really was driving the interest in Aaron Rodgers. I think it was like me, and I will admit, everyone saw this great defense and a good young receiving core, and Aaron Rodgers was like, oh, wow, he's going to have a second act that's going to be crazy on the field. I don't think him going to Broadway shows really was driving this whole thing. I think it was his fantasy of the football player. And I say fantasy, that sounds way too pejorative, but it turns out it was a fantasy this year. I think people are still really interested. Oh, my God, can he win a second Super Bowl? I don't think he can. I don't think this is all going to work. It's just the odds are against a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles. Let's be honest here. That's the real issue. Forget all the outside stuff. Forget the darkness retreat. He's old, and he's coming off an Achilles. And I know he says he's this miracle healer. Yeah. But do you trust that this Achilles is going to last? To me, spin it forward. Do the Jets get a high-end backup knowing that they have this injury-prone quarterback? And the other thing, too, is I think there's going to be a little bit of a circus atmosphere around their personnel. Like, what are they doing with their coach? What are they doing with their backup quarterback? So this idea that the buzz is going down on Aaron Rodgers seems far-fetched to me for that very reason.
So I think listen, changing the coach for the New York Jets is like changing your underwear. So I don't know. I guess that matters, but they do this so much that, yes, I guess Aaron Rodgers would have to sign off on the person or what have you. If they do move on for Robert Saleh, maybe there's some intrigue. They're going to get rid of Zach Wilson. So that part of it, your former second overall pick, is going to be out the door. So if you bring in a high-end backup, bringing in Gardner Minshew, that doesn't create a headline. The question is whether or not they draft a quarterback in rounds 1 or 2. It's definitely not going to be round 1. They wouldn't do that, I'm sure. They'll probably get more offensive line help. But, whether they draft a quarterback maybe in round 2, perhaps that's some type of intrigue. But with Rodgers saying he's in for multiple years, I don't think they're going to do that.
What about a trade for Justin Fields? Let him be the new Zach Wilson. Bring in a young guy who can learn at the feet of Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think that makes sense either because Justin Fields, you have to pay relatively soon, right?
Yeah, but if he's a backup, maybe you don't have to pay him that much. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, Justin Fields is probably too high end. I'm not sure they can just go with and even a Gardner Minshew might be hard to get. I think they have to be very careful about who they choose here. It's a little bit like Tua in Miami. I think you're going to be on pins and needles every time that dude drops back that he's going to get hurt. I think this is going to be an intriguing offseason for the Jets. Probably, I hate to say it, because, again, I am anti-Jets talk for some reason I can't explain. Maybe it's because of Greeny.
Well, no, I think
Greeny keeps on ESPN keeps telling me about the Jets.
No,
but
it's because they haven't made the playoffs in 13 years. That's why people, the disproportionate amount of headlines that the Jets get for the EJ, let's just call it what it is, on offense, for the abominable product that they put on the field, they should not garner this amount of headlines. And I think it's because people like to point at the Jets and laugh. Now, Rodgers will take care of some of that. You would think he will settle down some of those negative headlines. There's always a little December surprise with the Jets, though, of something maybe embarrassing. But as far as like the circus atmosphere, I think that's going to go away, and I think it's going to be about football. And for that reason, I think they're going to be under the radar. Am I wrong?
I find that hard to believe. And look, I've been following this franchise pretty much since I was in diapers, so it is what it is. Maybe I'm scarred, but I just don't see anything from Aaron Rodgers' recent past prior to the Jets that makes me think that you could have him on your team and it's not going to be a circus. I think there was a time where I said, look, he's motivated. He wants to prove everybody wrong. The Jets want to win a Super Bowl. So you know what? I scratch my back, you scratch yours or whatever, and we'll figure this out. I just feel like, as we've seen with Aaron Rodgers, he can't put away the other nonsense. He can't put away this war against science. He can't put away this war against people who say bad things about him or reporting that he doesn't like. Like, he can't put that stuff away. So I think that, well, because, he'll be a year removed from when he first came to New York, that's going to go away. I cannot see that.
Okay, but here's the thing. What's the football going to look like? It's like the guy who cried wolf, look at me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. Well, the reason why we pay attention to you, first and foremost, is the football.
Yep.
If that's not there, then what are we all doing here, right? Like, if he's not still, if he comes back and struggles off the Achilles, if he's still not in his prime, turns out at 40, which is not a crime, by the way, he might be tailing off here a little bit. I think he gets the headlines because of the football. He stays in the forefront because of the football. And if the football's not good, I think we care less about what books he's reading and what movies he's going to and what conspiracy theory is his du jour.
But Maggie, you're saying that the Jets are going to be better off with all the nonsense away and we focus on the football. But let's talk about the football. He wanted Nathaniel Hackett.
Right.
He wanted Zach Wilson to be his backup. He had seemed totally fine with this makeshift offensive line. He wanted Alan Lazard. He wanted Randall Cobb. Like, the football stuff he wanted. The football stuff that he wanted for this team were all disasters. Now, am I supposed to be like, oh, well, if he was there, all these terrible factors in this Jet season would have all of a sudden been positives? I can't see that.
Well, you wouldn't have had any of the Zach Wilson stuff.
Wait, there's no way the football is going to be bad, by the way. If Aaron Rodgers on one leg is out there slinging it before the game, he's not going to be bad. Is that even...
The football was bad for the Packers last year.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
They were 8-9.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, when he was out there, he had to... Remember they went on that little run at the end of the season? There's no way
they won 3 games in a season where they won 8. That was bad. That was good football?
Yeah, I mean, compared to the Jets quarterback play, yes. Well, I'm just saying Aaron Rodgers, even a down Aaron Rodgers, is still going to be way better than anything the Jets have had in a long time. Guy on one leg could go out there right now and be better than Zach Wilson.
I think.
You guys think the football is going to be bad? That's not even really crossed my mind.
Very much overrating how Aaron Rodgers played.
So you guys think he could be like 20 touchdowns, 15 picks kind of bad?
I don't know if he'll throw picks. I mean, that's never been the Aaron Rodgers thing.
But you don't think I think he's going to be productive. I think most people kind of think that. Like, maybe I'm a fool, but. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not buying in like hook, line, and sinker. I'm not doing what we did last year, where I said they're going to make the playoffs and all this and that, and they're going to be this big factor. And I think it's probably people like me who are like, wake me up when the football happens, that I think helps the Jets if they are going to be successful. But I'm not buying in.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers had some of his lowest numbers of his career when it came to passing yards, when it came to touchdowns.
Last year. But he had such a scrubby wide receiver core. He was throwing to.
Have you seen the guys that are on the Jets right now?
Yeah, Garrett Wilson.
All right, and name someone else besides Garrett Wilson.
I mean, have you seen the guys on the Packers?
Those guys are pretty good recently. Have you watched how some of those guys have played recently?
Last year they were way too young. I mean, it's not. Also, I have seen how those guys played. Christian Watson can't stay on the field, and Dobbs. Trust me, Dobbs will have a big drop here or there. They're not great either.
No, but they've had before this losing streak, they were playing extremely well. This idea that Aaron Rodgers had nobody, we know that that's not the case because Jordan Love. Look at Jordan Love's numbers. Jordan
Love's numbers are not great either. What do you think? Jordan Love is out there throwing 40 touchdowns?
No, but Jordan Love during this, he was one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL just a couple weeks ago. Okay, they played the Giants and he had a bad game. But before that, they were one of the hottest offenses in the NFL.
Oh, all right. Whatever.
How are you going to say whatever?
The guy's got 25 touchdowns, 11 picks.
Wait, sorry. That's Jordan Love's numbers?
Yeah.
You want to know Aaron Rodgers' numbers?
Yeah, he's 26 and 12. But those receivers are a year older now.
So you're telling me Jordan Love is going to be on pace to have better numbers than Aaron Rodgers because he's going to have more touchdowns, there's more games
left. Yeah, but that receiving core is a year older.
More yards.
They put out Aaron Rodgers with 2 rookie late-round picks, or a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick. It was not a great receiving core.
Okay, let's go back to the Jets. You have Gary Wilson. Who else do you have?
I don't bring in someone else this year,
well,
right?
That's where people are going to be looking at Rodgers saying, can you convince Devontae Adams to ask for a trade out of Las Vegas? Like, can you use your connections? And he said yesterday on McAfee Show, I'm a pretty good recruiter when it comes to offseason. Can you use the connections? I mean, I'd be curious if people are interested still in the Rodgers story. 855-212-4CBS. Like, until we get to the football, what else? Like, all the other stuff, we've been there, done that. He's going to really say something else that's going to, like, catch people's attention? He said he's not doing the darkness retreat anymore. We already know about the psychedelic drugs. Like, what is he going to jump out of a plane in a parachute? That nothing else he can do is going to get this kind of attention. 855-212-4CBS. Got so much to do today, including Jerry Jones taking a shot at a rival of the Dallas Cowboys. We've got more on the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. So much on this Wednesday. It's also a great debate Wednesday. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. The Jets argument is extended into the break. Sorry, I got caught up listening to this. It's funny, how credit Aaron Rodgers. Say what you want about him. The fact that we're talking about a 5-win team right now is pretty incredible. That's the Aaron Rodgers effect. So I'm saying if it's a neutral Aaron Rodgers, 0-0 Aaron Rodgers, you don't think he's going to be the top story in the NFL? I think you're fooling yourself, because the history of Aaron Rodgers is he's always the top story of the NFL. Even when he was in Green Bay and the talent level was falling apart, he was still in the headline. So I think Aaron Rodgers never lets go of that mantle. Now, if the Jets could actually win, that would be nice.
Well, maybe then we could actually have something to talk about for real football wise. But I guess this is where I'll go with Rodgers, because he said yesterday on McAfee's show he's going to be back next year. He wants to stay multiple years in New York, and he's more all in than ever. Okay. If he really wants it to be about the football now that he's been in New York for a year, then he's got to be a little bit more Eli Manning than Aaron Rodgers. And what I mean by that is you got to get a little more low key about this stuff, in my opinion, because the Jets will find the embarrassing story. They'll do that on their own. They'll find a way to have a bad headline. You've got to be the one who's keeping things as steady as humanly possible. And maybe you can do both of those things in Green Bay, but I think it's a little bit harder to do it in New York. And so he's got to get learn a little bit more from Eli Manning, who was as steady as ever through his, how many years was he here? 16 years, Bogusch? How long was Eli Manning the quarterback?
So 2004 was the draft, right? So, 15 years sounds right somehow.
You've got to get a little bit more, I'm not going to say boring, because I don't want you to take away who you are, but it's got to be a little bit, you can't give the public everything when you're a quarterback in New York if you want it to actually be about the football, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I just think all that stuff's irrelevant to the fact he's got to get on the field and start completing passes. And I don't think it matters if he does McAfee or doesn't do McAfee. I think he's good. I'm such a sucker. I still think he's going to be good. In my head, you get him out on the field. I have trouble separating, 3 years ago he was MVP or 2 years ago? I feel like that guy's going to come back, and I might be an idiot because of the Achilles tear.
Right.
But when you picture Aaron Rodgers running out in week 1 next year, don't you guys see a good quarterback? I see just zipping the ball around because he's just so talented. And now quarterbacks get older. I think it's going to be, if he's on the field and playing like Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it matters if he talks to McAfee, if he says whatever about the vaccine. Just get on the field and throw that football around, and that's all that matters.
So in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio and twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. Of course, you can just listen to us on our CBS Sports Radio affiliates. Pine Needle says if Aaron does anything for the Jets, he will get them a new turf field.
Oh, I know. That is huge.
How many more people have to go down on this field for the Jets and Giants to get together and be like, you know what, maybe this will be worth it? I think they tinkered with the field recently, right? But guys keep getting hurt.
It's kind of ridiculous because this is a stadium owned by two owners, two billionaires.
Yeah.
So you would think.
Pull your money.
Yeah, you think the cost issues, you could, split the difference and you'll be fine, right?
I got 5 on it.
Well, they took out They did take out some opponents. They're doing that too.
Yeah.
They have Jalen Phillips. Ask him about that turf. It's a mess, and it's also the most boring stadium in the country. Out of all, how many stadiums are there? 30. BC have 2 in LA. It is so uncreative. Why did they do something fun with it? It's New York City, and it's just like a blah.
The stadium matches the teams. They're also boring. Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got headlines. Hello.
Don't get yourself banned from another venue around here.
No,
Maggie.
I'm good with those.
Okay.
I think the Giants like me.
Headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Last dance vibes for a night, at least, in San Francisco.
Curry splits traffic. Down the lane, spins on Horford, throws it up wild, no good. And the loose ball deflected to Paul with 3 on the shot clock. Over to Curry, catch and shoot 3. Got it from the right sideline. 10.6 to go. Warriors lead 130-126. How did he do that?
Tim Roy has asked that question before on Warriors Radio. Steph Curry's quick release 3. The Daggers, the Dubs outlasted the Celtics 132-126 in OT. Boston was up 11 through 3 quarters. Steph finished with 33. He and the Dubs, of course, won that game without the suspended Draymond Green. Former Heat forward Udonis Haslem, the latest to chime in on Green's behavior. He's also the latest athlete with his own podcast. Haslem says Green is, quote, out of pocket. He has gone too far. But apparently he's smart picking the right victims.
People think he's crazy. I think he's smart. Because he know who he's with. He choked that Gobert. He was Jurkic. He fucking up people that really ain't gonna do nothing back. You know what I'm saying? So
he's not crazy. He's smart.
In reverse, he actually got some sense.
So he's smart crazy.
He's smart crazy.
Yeah.
Or he crazy smart.
Oh, crazy smart.
Crazy
Whatever
smart.
you want to
That's
do
what
it.
he is. He's crazy smart.
So a good criminal picks the right victim. Is that the more?
I got to be honest. This is so on brand for Udonis Haslem. If he's going to do a podcast, I want all takes like this. This is. I'm so not surprised that UD would be like, no, this is calculated.
Right.
I think there might be something to it, but he did mess with LeBron. So,
But LeBron won't fight anybody either.
but you're going after the star of the league,
But he
right?
also
So
messed
someone's
with-
going to retaliate for you, no?
Right, but I don't think you care about that. I think UD's point is that he's going after people who he knows won't attack him because
Right.
there's this idea they're soft or they're too small or whatever. Or if you're LeBron, you can't afford to go after somebody. And LeBron's been fouled before. How many brawls have started because someone's fouled LeBron? Nobody. None.
Well, that's also because I think LeBron in the moment makes a business decision. Like I've spent my entire career building up this brand of being dad, family friendly, face of the league. I'm not going to throw that all away because Draymond Green got under my skin. Here's the thing about Draymond. I don't ever see this as a sign of being mentally tough. I see it as a sign of being mentally weak because opponents, yes, maybe he goes after guys who they won't retaliate, but who's the worse off for it? Draymond.
And the Warriors, yeah.
And the Warriors.
Well,
He's the one who
yes.
gets suspended. He's the one who gets kicked out of games.
But there is a positive to this craziness. It wins you NBA titles. Every NBA
and loses
title.
you NBA titles.
Yeah, but you might not get there without that craziness. Think of the great teams: Dennis Rodman, the Bulls, Vernon Maxwell with the Rockets. You need that craziness. Does have an effect. The other thing too, I think Draymond thinks he could take anybody. He's got that natural strength. Do you think he's scared of any? I don't think he's picking out. There's nobody. Maybe Udonis Haslem. That might be the only guy who's scared.
Nobody should mess
But
with
Draymond is one of those naturally strong dudes that I think he thinks he can beat up anybody.
Who's the other guy in the league? Like, who's the guy right now who is
James Johnson.
James Johnson?
He's an actual MMA guy. The Pacers.
I'm going to need a team he plays for here.
The Pacers brought him back after the Giannis incident, so he was not in the league. Giannis goes out there and starts bullying the Pacers for a basketball. They signed James Johnson the next day. There's no way there's not a correlation to that.
Well,
As a
I would think
bouncer?
who's the other? But the other crazy guy right now is clearly the
Dylan.
heir apparent is Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
With
Isaiah
Dylan Brooks,
Stewart's crazy
Bobby,
too.
Who?
Isaiah Stewart.
Isaiah Stewart. Bobby.
But
yeah,
Draymond goes after Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, but
They
Dylan Brooks
have a thing.
He's not as strong as Draymond and some of those other guys. I don't know. I think there is. I know it doesn't make sense. I know what you're saying, Maggie, that it hurts your team. But I think having a Vernon Maxwell come off your bus for Houston, they wanted that. Crazy works. I mean, if I go out on a pickup court, I want a crazy guy on my team.
But and Rodman was a good one. But someone like a Vernon Maxwell, and he was a good player. I'm not trying to poo-poo him at all. But if you lost Vernon Maxwell for a game,
Yeah.
you're not going to lose the finals.
No, you're right.
Yeah, right. You
know?
still have Elijah one.
Right. Yeah, and Rodman, as crazy as he was smart enough to never get himself thrown out of a finals game or a very, very important playoff game, at least for the Bulls. Draymond clearly crosses that line where he actually takes himself out of important games.
Yeah, and lost him a finals in 2016.
But,
When you're up 3-1.
Through the years, Draymond has also taken out a lot of opponents with mind games. I've seen it happen.
For sure.
He gets in guys' heads, just like Rodman did too. I think, they did win a lot of titles. It's not like they didn't do anything with Draymond. And also, one thing about Draymond, I kind of nobody. Draymond could probably beat up anyone. I think he's a tough dude.
I think it's real. But
Yeah.
do you show how tough you are when you sucker punch a teammate?
No,
To me, that's
was,
not tough. That's like what, and I know Jordan Poole said something like whatever. That him saying, "How does it feel to be carried by Steph Curry?" doesn't warrant being punched in the face.
Well, let me ask you this: would you say that Warriors were deep in the playoffs this year? Would you want a watered down Draymond, or would you want the full effect Draymond?
Probably watered down. To be fair,
I know he'll play every game.
Can he still be a great passer? Can he still be, can I still get the things on the court from Draymond that's like the good basketball stuff?
Yeah, but don't
Without
you
the
also?
BS?
But the crazy stuff disrupts the other best players. So I think it's closer than I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have him on the court, but I think that crazy stuff helps.
Who's the crazy person of this show?
Well,
Ryan.
Bellotti.
That's what I'm saying. It's definitely Pete.
He's on
but
paternity leave.
He's not violent though.
No, he wants to be. He's waiting for the chance.
Do you think he might be? Actually, I was just wondering that.
I mean, so what I don't know is if when he finally gives in and goes berserk, does he start breaking out wrestling moves that don't really work?
Oh, like RKOing somebody?
Yeah.
You can't do that in real life.
Right. Like is he going to start suplexing people or is he going to like actually throw punches?
Like the figure four?
Yeah.
Until
Like is he trying to get Boomer to Boston Crab? Is that going to work? Probably not.
Pete is a wrestling fan of the 80s. So like he's watching the stiffest stuff. Like you're talking about guys who were basically fighting in the ring. It was almost real.
So he has a 2x4 with
stuff,
nails
like,
in it?
Yeah, it was like he's going to staple somebody's staple something to the forehead.
By the way, Maggie, very quickly, you mentioned Jordan Poole. Udonis Haslem did have an issue with Draymond doing that.
At the end of the day, man, we here to guide these young fellas in the right direction. You imagine me swinging on Hero?
Oh, that'd be a bad look.
I'll take a long walk on the short pill. I'll never forgive myself.
So he would never hit Tyler Hero, so Tyler Hero can relax at this point.
Well, yeah, but the thing
It's amazing out of all the people you could have picked.
Which means Tyler Hero sucks, right? Is that the point? Is like that the
He's
point?
the Jordan Poole of
Yeah.
So Gobert and Nurkic are soft, and Hero was a punk that needed to be punched, but Haslem didn't punch him.
because he would never forgive himself.
So that I felt the same way. So Tyler Jordan Poole has been a disaster since he left Golden State. Is Tyler Hero like that?
Well, Tyler Hero was like celebrating after he didn't get traded in the Dame trade. He kind of did like a haha, I'm still here.
And he dresses like a doof on the bench. I could see him being annoying.
You can't see Perloff thinks that's just
cool.
he's cool.
No.
It's the bucket
Wait,
hats. I
Ben
love
Simmons
it.
dresses like a nut job on the bench.
And I'm
Is he
sure he
cool?
wanted to get punched too.
Yeah.
Well, Ben Simmons is a guy that probably could have used a little tough love. I mean, I'm not saying he should have got punched, sucker punched in the face, but he probably could have used a Draymond Green, quote unquote, mentoring him.
Wait, did the Sixers not have anyone tough on their team then? But
No.
PJ Tucker wasn't there yet?
No, he
No,
wasn't.
PJ was not there with Ben Simmons. Yeah, that the Sixers tried to add is PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker's like a nice Draymond, right? He doesn't.
I think he's a tough guy.
Yeah, you need a tough guy. You need an enforcer. Football, you need that too. I mean, I think our show needs a tougher guy. I don't know who's gonna.
We've already gone through who would like win in a fight.
We have Bellotti as a Draymond, and now we need another guy. We need a PJ Tucker.
Belotti's not Draymond. Okay, but
he's closest on this show.
Right.
Definitely.
Doesn't
And-
mean that he's Draymond.
If it's not Pete, then it's EJ, because it ain't the three of us.
No.
Oh no! Not my fighting days are
Well, it
long
isn't
past.
you two. I'm just kidding. It's not me either. I'm not a fighter.
Maggie's been hoping to stab someone by accident.
Even Townie Maggie.
Yeah,
It's not.
is that
it's not
a
in me.
shank you have right there?
Sharp elbows. John Morant returned from his 25-game ban to hit the game winner in New Orleans last night. His Grizzlies winning 115-113. The Blazers beat the Suns 109-104 after trailing by 22 in the second quarter. Texans QB C.J. Stroud expected to miss a second consecutive game with a concussion, and the Colts have suspended wideout Isaiah McKenzie, corner Tony Brown 3 games for conduct detrimental to the team.
Can someone tell me what that is?
No one can
No
yet.
one knows.
So weird.
Does everyone think it's sports gambling, or is it just me?
Oh,
Because the
I
Lions
didn't
have
even go there.
That's been sort of because the Lions had another problem. Do you think somebody else threw a bet down?
But wouldn't the NFL though be the ones in charge of that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's not the team suspending. The teams are probably kicked that to the league. Like, you take care of it.
Oh, the team can't jump out and say, "Oh, they might know it and try and preemptively suspend them." That was my best bet. Because what else could it be?
The teams hate suspending players. They always want the league to, like, quote unquote, do their dirty work. It's actually created, I know, some tension behind the scenes between teams and the commissioner's office, because the commissioner's office is like, especially when all the domestic violence stuff was happening, it's like, why don't you discipline these players? And the team's like, no, you do it. We don't want to be perceived as the bad guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's your job as the league. That's why we pay you to do this kind of thing.
I kind of wonder if there's some kind of misconduct with team employees. Like, because if something you're not going to talk about, and we've had this in recently where you don't want to reveal, and I don't know if it's harassment. I don't know. It could just be being gross around people. I don't know. But we've had instances where you don't want to reveal what happened or who was victimized apparently or allegedly.
To protect their privacy.
Right. That's the only thing I could think of, because you're talking about conduct detrimental to the team. I don't know how gambling is detrimental to the team other than you having to miss games.
Well, I got to be honest. Like, Isaiah McKenzie was a bill for a long time. I don't think that there were. I know at the end he lost his job, but that was performance-based as far as I knew.
Yeah.
You never heard a whisper.
He had a podcast with our buddy Ty Dunn, right?
They used to do a live pod.
Seemed like a really fun guy. Yeah, but the team has to know eventually people are going to want to know why they're not on the field. So you can't bury it forever.
Especially 3 games. That's not missing a meeting.
3 important games.
Yeah, they're in a playoff race right now.
And they're not starters, but they play.
Yeah.
McKenzie's their main return guy, so it's actually they're hurting themselves by keeping him off the field. So it's got to be something legit. EJ probably is a good guess. I just don't know. Would they use different language if that was the case? Like, would they make it sound more HR-y if it was them being stupid at something, in a meeting or around the facility?
They could add a brawl.
Yeah, I think we know that, though. That's an easy thing to figure out.
I think that happens a lot, and I don't think that gets you suspended. I think coaches. I think coaches fight each other. I think players fight each other in the locker room and stuff.
What about
not to dismiss it, Ryan? But I
missing curfew on the road on a Saturday?
Not 3 games though.
They played at home against the Steelers. They didn't play on the road last week.
Yeah, right, and they didn't play in that game either. So this is really a 4-game punishment.
Oh, so maybe it was from before that.
Yeah, it's heavy.
By the way, the C.J. Stroud now missing a second game. That's not nothing.
I was going to say, and I'm a huge Case Keenum fan. I'll be in there. I'm nervous about Cleveland. Case looked pretty good against the Titans, but that's a hard assignment for Stroud or Case.
Well, I'm thinking about, like, is this CJ, are they still protecting him and maybe thinking about his long-term future, or is he still really suffering from effects of a concussion? We're 14 days away.
Yeah, it could be.
We're halfway through Aaron Rodgers' Achilles rehab, and he was like talking about running in 0G by this time, and meanwhile Stroud is still out with concussions. Is he okay?
This is the quarterback with arguably one of the brightest futures.
Easily.
He's
of
the
this class.
He's the up-and-coming star of the NFL. To see his career, you can already see if it's this bad. Like, who knows? But then again, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, and he missed part of a season with a concussion, and that was 20 years ago. So
I know.
It's not the end, but it is scary.
Last thing for now, the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl last night. UTSA outscored Marshall 35-17. If you want to feel old, the starting QBs in this game were Owen McCown and Cole Pennington, the sons of Luke McCown and Chad Pennington.
All-time favorite Jet, Chad Pennington.
And now his kid plays for Marshall just like he did.
That's wild.
Yeah, every time the NFL or NBA draft comes along, and what's the kid, Milt Wagner? DJ
Wagner.
I'm like, I was watching his grandfather. This is not good.
See, that was so funny because we talked about it in the meeting a couple of weeks ago where you went to immediately, that's Milt Wagner's grandfather. And I was like, that's DeJuan Wagner's son.
Yep.
What's the athlete's son made you feel the oldest? Like, everyone has that moment where like, oh, man.
Well, this is a random one, but like, I was in college when Jameer Nelson was at St. Joe's.
Yeah, same.
And his kid is already done with college. And played an extra year. Jameer Nelson Jr., I think, is finally done playing college with transferring and red shirts and COVID. So, like, we're almost the same age, and my kids are 12 and 10, and his son's 23 and trying to play professional basketball.
I mean, he's not a pro yet, but honestly, Cayenne Anthony is tough.
Yeah.
Watching his high school highlights, which I admit I was doing the other day.
I mean, there was Lala had a reality show where he was like 5. Like he was very young.
So this is Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, Carmelo Anthony's son.
I thought you were talking about some Cole Anthony.
No,
Cole Anthony.
Cole Anthony's another one too.
Actually, mine was why am I blanking on his name? Former number 1 overall pick, Kenyon Martin's son.
Okay.
Oh, KJ. That's another one.
Now.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Now I'm gonna feel old.
Who's the guy in the Mavs, the shooter? Tim Hardaway's kid.
Oh, Tim Hardaway Jr.
Tim Hardaway Jr. is on like his 3rd contract.
He's
been around for a long one.
Yeah, he's like an old-time veteran player.
Right, yeah, he's not new.
He was
he's
on the
definitely
Knicks. He was on the
30.
Knicks twice.
Yeah. And it wasn't good either time. I'm sorry. Bogusch, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Got a lot more to do, including this is a wild report we have about one future NFL head coach. We got the details for you in a moment. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Andrew Perloff, Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio. So this one I found a little bit odd, Perloff, because, you know, what's going on in New England? The season's a disaster, and the reports keep coming out that, you know, Bill Belichick and the organization are going to part ways at the end of the year. But the heir apparent to Bill Belichick is going to be a much, much scrutinized position and somebody who has these massive shoes to fill. So it's been kind of an open secret, I guess, that Jerrod Mayo is one of the candidates, if not the front runner, to replace Bill Belichick. Of course, Jerrod Mayo is a longtime linebacker for the Patriots. But a recent report from the Boston Sports Journal, and someone we know and used to work with, Greg Bedard, said, quote, multiple team sources indicated that Mayo has rubbed at least some people the wrong way in the building since his extension, and when he perhaps received a strong indication he would be the successor.
Well, first of all, there are a lot of reports that come out of Boston. It is a much reported on team. So I'm taking this with a little grain of salt. I love Bedard, but I'm not sure that report necessarily indicates the truth. Like, yes, he might have some enemies here, but I still feel like Jerrod Mayo makes perfect sense for this team. He's done such a good job with this defense on such a bad team. You can say what you want about the Patriots. They ball out on D.
Listen, I love Greg, too. He was a great colleague when we worked together, but I think this is unfair for Jerrod Mayo. Like, if you're not going to put your name to it, or if you're not going to explain what you mean by rubbed people the wrong way, what does that mean? That means I don't say hi to you in the break room, or does that mean you're totally out of line on the practice field? Is this coming from people in the building, on the building side? Is this on the player side? Like, this is so... I don't think there's enough detail here to go with something like this, which could be, you know, painting Jerrod Mayo in this negative light before he even possibly takes over the team.
Let me throw out a theory here. Okay. What if there's someone in the front office, someone tied to Robert Kraft, who doesn't want he wants to get rid of Belichick, but he doesn't want close ties to the Belichick regime, and he doesn't really want to, you know, they might have promised something to Jerrod Mayo. So maybe they're putting out a trial balloon of some negative stuff about Jerrod Mayo so they can move on to a more offensive kind of guy. There must be some movement. Obviously, Jerrod Mayo is not exactly going to light up the scoreboard. There must be some movement inside the building to bring in a high-flying offensive guy, and Mayo's the opposite.
Okay, but that's like some real Game of Thrones, like that, and that'd be also, that's really rotten to do to a former player, I think. You know, somebody who played their whole career in New England, you know, won a lot of football games for you, Super Bowls for you, and then to, like, you know, sully their name just because you don't like the direction of where the franchise is going. Like, I think, to me, that's rotten.
Well, this is a Game of Thrones franchise. Remember, they kicked out the Crown Prince and Jimmy G. They said, listen, handsome young prince, you were going off to San Francisco because you were threatening the king. So this is a very, you know, this, of course, is all GOT. That's my best explanation, that somebody doesn't want Jerrod Mayo to be the coach next year.
Well, I'm picking that up too, but it's like, this to me is an ugly way to do it.
Yeah,
like, if you don't want him to be the coach, I don't know, this might be true, it might be not true, but this is an ugly way to do it. If it's simply, I don't want him to be the coach because he's a defensive-oriented guy, or I don't want him to be the coach because this or that, to say that he's rubbed people the wrong way indicates that he's been a problem.
Yeah, been a jerk or something.
And
so a lot of things,
you're going to have to flesh this out if you're going to make those kind of accusations.
But it's easy to believe something like this because they're 3-10. There's nothing but bad outcomes that come when you're 3-10. Nothing pretty is going to happen here with New England. I mean, obviously, everyone thinks they're going to move on for Belichick.
Right.
I think there's going to be a lot of recriminations. They're not used to losing. Heck, they were doing this stuff when they were winning. There was friction in that building. So I think it's going to be ugly, and I think a lot of people are going to go down. And who knows if Belichick's going to leave easily? What if Belichick secretly wants to stay?
Does he have a choice? I mean,
He
he
might
works
not,
at the
but
favor of the owner.
Forget Jerrod Mayo. They might have to fire the greatest coach of all time, or, I mean, in so many words, fire him. They'll let him resign, but...
No, I think they'll trade him.
Maybe. Do we know that as a fact?
Listen, trading him saves face. It's like, hey, someone else wanted you, right? We didn't have to fire you. Someone else wants you. It is the most graceful exit.
I don't think it's a guarantee that they trade him. I'm not sure if everyone knows they're going to fire him. Why would you give up a draft pick for him?
The latest on Brock Purdy from the mouth of Kyle Shanahan. 855-212-4CBS if you want to weigh in on Bill Belichick, of course, and the succession plan. We turn our attention to the 49ers next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She can run the 40 faster than Tom Brady. He got a perfect score on the Wonderlic. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Will it be a Super Bowl preview? I say no. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It is the morning show on CBS Sports Radio. 49ers, Ravens this weekend, Perloff. These are, right now, the two best teams in their respective conferences. Yep. I mean, I think the NFC, though, like where the 49ers are, is even much of, I don't say light years in front of where the Ravens are, but I trust what's going on with this 49er team more than I trust what's going on with the Ravens once we hit the playoffs. Now, no disrespect to the Ravens. Lamar's playing awesome. Their defense is really good. But for those who are wondering, are we watching a Super Bowl preview when these two teams take the field? I say no.
I say absolutely yes. First of all, we're only talking about half of this matchup, right? We're not talking, no one's beating the Niners. The Niners are in the Super Bowl. So what you're saying is, I'm glad
you've come to this realization.
Oh, I've been well aware since I saw the Niners come into Lincoln Financial Field and destroy the Eagles.
Yes.
The Niners, barring injury, are the team to beat by so far in the NFC. So I think this debate hinges on the Ravens, and it looks like the Ravens are going to get the number 1 seed. So to me, having that bye and the games being in Baltimore, if I had a mulligan, I would take them by far. But who's beating them? Tell me who in the AFC is beating them right now.
Well, I don't know if I have a name for you.
Okay, but I will. But it doesn't seem like they have an obvious flaw. No. I know they lost Keaton Mitchell, the running back, last week.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that as much. I mean, you still have Gus Edwards, and that's fine. I guess if I'm forced into a corner, I'm going to say the Chiefs. I still have to tie goes to the champ, and I think
the one you've seen do it.
The one I've seen do it, and listen. The Chiefs don't look the same. I get that. The Chiefs on offense don't look the same. And if you're asking me, do I have to believe in Kadarius Toney or MVS or one of these big wide receivers making a play? There's no shot that they're going to be able to do it. However, I still believe in the Mahomes and the Kelsey. There's got to be, this isn't how it ends, right? Not for Mahomes, he's going to be around for a long time, but is this how it ends with Kelsey? Him kind of tailing off?
Tailoring off.
Off. Yeah.
So here's the thing about Baltimore. We've never seen a healthy Baltimore. And you could analyze NFL football all you want. The healthiest team gets to the Super Bowl. That is the key. The Eagles' run last year was defined by the fact that they had everyone sort of come back toward the end. We've never seen Baltimore all together this time of year. I think they are uncharacteristically healthy. I know, despite what I said about Keaton Mitchell, and Ronnie Stanley comes in and out of the game.
Yeah.
But I think that Lamar looks fresh and healthy despite having a lot of carries. I think that receiving core, Odell looks healthy. I think they are ready to go, and their defense is the most underrated unit in the entire NFL right now. Their defense is destroying people, and I admit EJ was bothering me about that earlier in the year. I'm like, now I've been watching them. They are brutal. They are so well coached. They'll hit you at every level. I think this is the most complete team in the AFC. Feels like a collision course to me. I don't know. I would bet on either team, but I wouldn't because the odds are not great, especially on San Francisco. You're not going to win any money saying they get the Super Bowl now. But
this is not going out on a limb.
And also a little history. We've seen it before. 2012, New Orleans, the lights went out.
Yep.
It feels like Niners, Ravens. It just feels right to me right now.
You and I were both at that Super Bowl. We sitting next to each other in that Super Bowl.
I was not at that Super Bowl.
Oh, you weren't?
No.
I could have sworn you were next to me.
I was not in the building when the lights went out. We went home because we had a show in Connecticut on Monday morning.
Oh, right, for DP.
Maybe the actual McLovin was who was sitting next to him.
I think it was
Christopher
actually.
Mintz-Plasse.
Now I think about it. I think it was Michael Rosenberg. Same.
Yeah. I wish I could write like Michael Rosenberg.
I was in the building when the lights went out.
What was that like, by the way? That looks scary on TV.
It was one of the scariest moments I've ever had in my life.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, and I don't mean this as a shot at the Superdome or any of the great people in the city of New Orleans. They were fantastic hosts, but I don't think of the Superdome like. It wouldn't have been easy to get to the exits. Let me put it that way. That would have been if something had actually been going down and it wasn't just the Beyonce halftime show, like blew out the grid in New Orleans or whatever the official story was, that would have been a difficult way to, I don't know if we were getting out of that building.
Well, I mean, that building had such a rough history with what happened there in Katrina.
Yeah.
But regardless, great Super Bowl. 34th, wasn't that in the 30s? Great Super Bowl.
Great Super Bowl. The 3 straight passes, Colin Kaepernick to Crabtree, right, at the end, and couldn't complete any of those passes in the Ravens win.
So doesn't this feel like the same kind of vibe that these two teams are headed on a collision course? As long as Brock Purdy's upright, San Francisco's going to make it. We disagree a little bit on the McCaffrey impact.
Yeah.
San Francisco's there. I'm telling you, I don't see the flaw with Baltimore. You think maybe Lamar's past postseason failures? I'm not sure I'm getting the vibe from you. What's wrong with him?
I need to make sure. I don't know because I just watched this happen in Jacksonville Sunday night.
Right.
It becomes just the Lamar show.
Yeah.
And he's awesome when he does that. And I think he should have more consideration for MVP because he's doing so much out there, despite the fact that they have better weapons for him now. But if it just becomes the Lamar show, I think that could be beatable.
Yeah.
We've seen that how this
in the
is.
playoffs, your Bills beat them when they had came in the playoffs kind of hot, same format. This thing, you can say what you want about the Super Bowl. This is definitely an MVP head-to-head. Lamar versus Purdy. If Lamar beats Purdy, he jumps up to number 1.
Oh, I don't think so.
I mean, it's 3 now.
No, I don't think there is anything that anyone can do to stop this Purdy train.
No. If Lamar, I'll bet you any show bet. If Lamar and the Ravens, 5.5-point underdogs, beat the Niners, Lamar is the MVP.
I'm telling you, as someone who has stood on the mountain of Purdy is not the MVP and Christian McCaffrey is actually the MVP of not just the 49ers, but poking holes in the Purdy MVP case, I can tell you the Purdy people, y'all know who you are. The Purdy people, you guys are like an army out there. You can't say anything negative about Purdy. I think in the eyes of the people who are voting on this, I think Purdy is so far ahead. And maybe that's also because Lamar, we've talked about this, has already won one. So,
that's a good point.
The bar has to become so much higher for you. I'm telling you, Perloff, these Purdy people who, if you say anything negative about Purdy, all of a sudden you're a hater, you don't know anything about football. Purdy has become more of a referendum on how people watch football than just simply an MVP candidate. There's so much more wrapped up here with Purdy.
I totally hear what you're saying because people are not believing what they're seeing because he's Mr. Irrelevant, last pick. He's kind of a smaller guy and he has so many weapons around him. It's a fascinating debate about what really makes a great quarterback.
And I think it's the opposite side. It's the people who are the Purdy stans.
Yeah.
The Purdy fans who are like, no. If you question that Purdy is a system quarterback or that he's just a good distributor of the football, then you don't know what you're talking about. You clearly don't know football if you just see Purdy as a system quarterback. And it's gotten to the point where it's the Purdy people have become I don't use this word. I don't mean it to be this is a more serious word than I mean it, but you guys are bullies, man. You Purdy people. You nobody can have a different opinion about Purdy or else they get really in their feelings about it.
Well, I think people who know football, look at the Purdy stands. Aaron Rodgers, Kurt Warner, the former quarterbacks all love Brock Purdy. They're like, you do not understand. Yeah, it's definitely, I play the game. You didn't. You don't understand what he's doing out there is way harder than you think. I'm hearing that vibe a lot from former players.
And the fans, obviously, as well. So it's if you dare say anything hey, Christian McCaffrey could be the MVP, it's you don't know football. It's that. I think I do, actually.
One thing I will guarantee, you're wrong about what every week this year, the NFL MVP favorite in Vegas has switched. And a head-to-head matchup of Lamar Jackson's 2 now, so it's Purdy 1, Lamar 2, Josh Allen 3. If Lamar Jackson wins this game, he is won with a bullet because voters are dumb. The last thing they saw is all that matters. Well, and this year it's been more of a last thing they saw. First of all, I don't think the Ravens are going to win. I think San Francisco wins. But if somehow Lamar upsets Purdy here, remember Purdy went on that 3-game skid and everyone forgot about him? He fell off the face of the odds altogether. He wasn't even an MVP candidate. Then he won again. I'm telling you right now, the most recent hot streak is going to win the MVP this year. It's going to be Lamar. And watch out for Josh Allen. If Lamar trips up and Purdy doesn't play well, then Josh Allen will win the MVP.
Okay, so we've got 2 show bets that are now going to be into the 2024. We've got 2 that are not going to get paid off until we flip the calendar over to the new year. I've got to add this one. I think Purdy's winning it no matter what. Again, I'm not the big Purdy, I think McCaffrey is really the MVP, but he's so far ahead in this race. I know the Vegas odds, but I'm telling you, the voters, I think they have already penciled in Purdy mentally, and I don't think there's anything Lamar can do to change their mind. So, show bet.
Well, it has to be, they have to win. I mean, the show bet's irrelevant if the Ravens lose to the Niners. Brock Purdy beats Lamar Jackson. What are we debating here? Of course he's going to win. I don't think, okay, so if the 49ers lose, I still think Purdy's getting it. I will bet you, and I'll even give you odds. If the Ravens win this game as underdogs in San Francisco,
yeah,
I am so certain that Lamar Jackson will be the MVP over Brock Purdy.
I'd strong disagree.
Okay,
so I guess it depends.
Let's get some stakes now.
It depends on what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, of course. If Purdy
Monday,
if they come
Saturday.
out there and kill them, then
so the parameters I'm hearing is that if the Niners lose, Maggie says Brock Purdy will Brock Purdy will still be the MVP.
Yes.
And Perloff is saying it will be Lamar Jackson.
Yes. So we got to wait and see what happens in this game, and then we can move further on with the bet.
And we tend to do food-related bets. So let's be like Mayors. The Baltimore food is something involving crab cakes or a sourdough soup bowl in San Francisco. What's a San Francisco food?
Well, you got that. I think that clam chowder bowl is like a real tourist thing.
Yeah. Well, that's what you do when you talk about it. See, cheesesteaks are tourists. So
no, you actually eat cheesesteaks a lot.
Oh, you're telling me that people in the Bay Area don't eat sourdough bread bowl soups all the time?
By the wharf? I don't think they do. They? I don't know. I always thought that was just a tourist thing.
Some sort of food bet off of this. I mean, we need Lamar Jackson to win.
Is someone putting their face in a bowl of clam chowder?
Why do you think Brock Purdy's so far ahead? Every week we've had a new MVP favorite. I mean, it was Dak by a mile 2 weeks ago.
It's
the most frenetic MVP vote I've ever seen in my life.
I'll tell you why. Because I think, first of all, it's like best player on the best team. So I think Brock Purdy gets a leg up there. Or not, but like best team and then the quarterback from the best team.
Yeah, but obviously Lamar Jackson would be the quarterback on the best team. If Baltimore wins, they'll end up with the best record.
Sure. I think people believe that San Francisco is the best team, though.
Not if they lose to Baltimore. Baltimore is... I mean, how could they possibly be the best
Because
team?
I think that the San Francisco train, if you will, the trolley, is coming so fast down the tracks that even if they stub their toe or they slip up against the Ravens, I still think people will believe that the 49ers are the best team. Like, they will explain away. Perloff, you're the king of explaining away losses.
No, there's no explain that. I mean, the Ravens will have a better record and just beaten them in week 15. There's no way that people are going to say the Niners are a better team.
This is the other part I think about Purdy, and this is why he's going to win the MVP no matter what happens this week, is because I think people who want to be considered I'm a super smart NFL mind. I know this inside and out. I know the game inside and out. I'm a super smart NFL mind. I see Purdy. You just don't see the magic. I think it's like an elitist thing. Like Purdy, I'm a Purdy person, and I see something, and if you don't see it, you have no idea what you're looking at. And I think it's become that kind of thing. And who loves an elitist NFL argument more than the people who are voting on this award?
Yeah, if you don't like Purdy, you're a casual.
Yeah, right. You just don't, you can't possibly see the magic if you don't like Purdy. Or not if you don't like him. Of course we all like him. But if you don't think that he is, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, that's the argument. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm like, I can't get there with that. Even with all of his success, I don't begrudge him it at all. Could he win a Super Bowl? Of course. But I think that's what this has become.
I also, by the way, would not rule out there is a lane. There is a lane for 2 other guys. Dak and Tua play each other this week. I think if Dak puts on a show the last 3 weeks, he'll jump right back in.
It's over for Dak. I think that Buffalo loss.
I think you're overestimating the attention span of NFL Nation. They go 1 week. That's it. They are ready to flip. This MVP, every single week this year, we've had a new MVP favorite. I don't know why that would stop.
I don't think Vegas has the pulse on this one.
I disagree. I think, by the way, Brock Purdy if Brock Purdy struggles against the Ravens defense, which is very possible. The Ravens defense is awesome.
No, they're amazing.
That MVP train will fall. And I've obviously been driving this MVP train for 6 weeks here.
Yeah, no, you're part of the, you're a Purdy person.
I'm a Purdy for sure.
Yeah.
But people, just the last thing they saw is all that matters.
Let's go to Sean. He's in Oregon. Good morning, Sean. What's up?
Hey, we'll see if this outside noise starts getting to him. There's 3 games left, you guys.
Getting to who? Getting to Purdy?
Yeah, and, I'm just going to – I voted against him last year. He proved me wrong. But there's something about Mr. Irrelevant doing all this and then
people love it.
MVP too.
Yep.
I don't know.
The story's too good, Sean. The story's too good. The voters love this stuff.
It's crazy. You know what's going to be a good story?
What's that?
Is if the Dolphins and the Cowboys meet in the Super Bowl.
That'd be a sick Super Bowl.
I'd love that Super Bowl. It'd be amazing.
And
I mean, my Bills didn't make the playoffs, but that's fine. I don't care.
You don't know what they're going to do. I mean, when the Cowboys show up, you don't know which Cowboys are going to show up. I mean, they really disappointed me last week. And I'm not even a Cowboys fan, but I like the story. And I like Jerry Jones. I like the way he talks.
Sean, we've got some Jerry Jones sound. Thank you for that. We're going to get to it in just a minute because Jerry was on one this week, which was fantastic. I'd love a Cowboys-Miami Super Bowl more than I'd like the rematch with San Francisco and Baltimore, right?
Oh, yeah. I actually would like a San Francisco-Miami rematch
that'd be
from
cool.
Dan Marino, Joe Montana.
That'd be awesome.
I think Miami is something the NFL kind of needs Miami to be in there, something flashy and
something
new.
Different.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens are great, but they've been great for a little while. The Ravens would be cool. Lamar Jackson in the Super Bowl, you could not argue with that.
I'd love to see Lamar in the Super Bowl. That'd be really cool. We have a lot of potentially good matchups here, but there'd be something about the Dolphins. I mean,
but wait, San Francisco, Kansas City would be amazing too. To see Mahomes against that juggernaut of a team,
we've seen it already.
I've seen that one.
Oh yeah, we have. But it feels like the Niners feel a little different now. They feel they snuck in against them last time. This time they come in as a favorite. It'd be fun. All these matchups are going to be good. It'd be really fun. Philly KC rematch. Who's with me?
No.
Who's with me? Let's go.
That'd be the last one I'd want to see.
Let's go.
Frankly.
Hard pass.
Because you're not going to beat him again. You're not going to beat him. Period. And we all have to watch it for the second time.
No, come on. We could beat this Kansas City team. I mean, the truth
are you going to blame the grass again?
That was
Is
a
it
real
going to rain?
thing. That was a real
I agree
thing.
with that, actually.
That was a real thing. I don't think either of those teams are making the playoffs, to be honest. I think it's going to be San Francisco and Baltimore. I'm sorry, these matchups sound fanciful, but we are watching the Super Bowl next week, and whoever wins this game wins the MVP.
The team I want to see
How about that bet? Will you do that bet? No, you won't, because you think Purdy's
I think Purdy's got it.
And Purdy's going to win this week, too.
The team I most want to see in the Super Bowl, and it pains me to say this as an AFC East guy, but I want to see the Bills in the Super Bowl.
Thank you,
That'd be
AJ,
fun, too.
for the support.
Yeah.
I think this would be...
we say support, but also it's like, can Maggie do this again? It's been many years.
Oh, so you're expecting a loss.
That they lose again?
Either way, it's something glorious for this show.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the show to watch me, just like my entire being just get crushed, apparently, if they lose in this scenario.
Or you don't show up for a week because you're out partying back in
Vegas. Oh, in Binghamton?
Go back to the hometown.
Yeah.
People are
Binghamton in February.
People are into the Bills right now. Everyone, they're the flavor of the month as a Super Bowl dark horse.
Yeah, get out of here, you bandwagoners.
But they are a fun team because of how on the edge they live.
Exactly.
No, this is not the 49ers.
Defense, hit or miss. Maybe Stephon Diggs is happy. Maybe he's not. Like if
he's
you
definitely not.
If you had that for 2 weeks.
Maybe the coach is going to get fired. Maybe he's not.
Right. Maybe he's going to make some other dumb comment about terrible things. Like if you had that for 2 weeks getting ready for the game, of course, then is Josh Allen able to win the big one? The obvious question. That would be awesome.
So here's what would happen. Something that will have a nickname for the end of time.
Yeah.
You can be
Yeah.
assured that when it comes to the Bills, it's not just going to be something's going to happen. It's going to have a nickname. There's going to be a shorthand.
The Las Vegas letdown or
Thank
something.
you.
And it's got to have alliteration like Minnesota Miracle
right.
no, that's definitely happening. I can't wait. Go Bills. I'm surprised the Bills are. I hear a lot of media people. They're 7th in odds in the NFL. I think there's a little concern that they have to make the playoffs first.
Yes.
Small detail.
I love this MVP talk and all this playoff Super Bowl talk, but they're on the outside looking in.
Can I give you a little analytics, a little metric that I read? You can't get to the Super Bowl if you don't make the playoffs.
Thank you for that.
Trent Dilfer told me that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
People can't get this kind of analysis anywhere else on the radio.
No.
Yeah. The Bills' odds will increase dramatically if they actually make the playoffs.
Sure about that? We need our fact checker on
We
it.
did have a funny. We do these calls. We had a funny show argument. I'm like, let's do the Bills are the team you don't want to see, and we were just kind of making fun. Like that is the thing. I've heard 50 people saying the Bills are the team I don't want to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, you might not if they can't beat the Chargers and the Patriots and the Dolphins. You're not going to see them in the playoffs.
Why would you say the Niners are the team I don't want to see in
exactly.
the playoffs? But people use that expression,
Ravens.
meaning the wild card team that is on the edge. That's the team I don't want to see. The Rams and the Bills are the two teams you don't want to see.
You know why? I think some of it is you don't want the letdown. Because if you lose to the Niners and Ravens, you could say to yourself, you know what? We lost to a great team.
Yeah.
If you lose to one of these plucky underdogs that we know have talent, it's going to be a long offseason trying to explain to yourself how you lost a 7 seed.
Do you think anyone on the Eagles can cover Cooper Kupp? I'm in a state of panic that the 2-seed Eagles are going to lose to the 7-seed Rams.
You got to get that 2 seed first. 855-212-4CBS. 855-212-4227. All right. We got a lot to do here. Do you believe that 49ers Ravens is a Super Bowl preview, number one? And number two, I think Brock Purdy's got the MVP no matter what. Now, ironically, he would not have my vote. I think Christian McCaffrey should be the MVP, but the voters have already decided. The story, the fact that he exemplifies or, he encapsulates what smart people think is a smart argument. Like, this is the smart football argument. Like, if you don't love Purdy, if you're not a Purdy person, you don't know what you're looking at.
I hear all that, but voters have decided it is not true. They have the attention span of a fly. They will change 4 times before. There'll be 4 new MVP favorites.
Coming up, we will hear from Deion Sanders. We have a lot of college football news to get to on this very busy Wednesday. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back on Maggie and Perloff. Lots of good debates going on here today. You can weigh in. Is the Ravens 49ers a Super Bowl preview? I say yes. Maggie says no. Also, is Brock Purdy already done? Is it MVP for Brock Purdy? I say no way. The MVP favorite has changed every week. The winner of the Ravens-Niners game, the quarterback that wins, is such a strong favorite. If Lamar Jackson beats Brock Purdy one-on-one, he's number 2 in odds. How are you not going to jump him?
I don't think Vegas is right on these odds because I think that's about the public money, and we're talking about 50 NFL media people who vote on this. I don't think that they're giving us something correct here.
See, I think something has changed though. I think with legalized gambling, every NFL writer knows these odds. I think it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think they read the odds before they make these selections. For example, the defensive player of the year, I think they're going to read that Micah Parsons is a Vegas favorite and say, ooh, maybe I should vote for that guy. Consciously or subconsciously, I think the odds actually end up being self-fulfilling prophecies.
They influence the vote. I think with Purdy, it's already a fait accompli. It's all too good. The winning, the story, the newness of Purdy, like the fact that this is the smart person's quarterback, like that's at least how it feels to the people who are non-Purdy people like me. It's like if you dare think that Christian McCaffrey is more valuable, or if you dare call Brock Purdy a system quarterback, all of a sudden you're the hater. You don't know anything about football. How dare you? It's become like Brock against the world. And I think the voters like to be on the I'm the thinking man's football voter, and I'm gonna vote Brock Purdy as opposed to just like the obvious choice, which is McCaffrey.
If they're MVPs, by the way, and they can't beat Baltimore at home, neither is MVP. I mean, honestly, if they're supposed to be most valuable players, then should they win this game?
You know,
it is not an overall sample size. People are not that savvy. It is the most recent thing they saw, and this is really the last big game for both teams, I think. The Ravens have the Steelers, I guess. I don't know if the Steelers are anything, but this is a huge, huge showdown. So I think people are going to see it, and the voters, I understand what you're saying, but voters respond to the public, and they respond to Vegas. I think they're going to say, well, how can I vote for Brock Purdy when he just lost to Lamar Jackson? Because that's your ballot, right? Now it's ranked voting. It's 1, 2, 3. So how could you put Lamar Jackson 2 and Brock Purdy 1 if Lamar beat him? It just doesn't make any sense.
I'm telling you, I think they love the Purdy story. We got the new Kurt Warner here. Just all Purdy is missing is bagging the groceries. Mike is in California. Hey, Mike, good morning.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Been a while, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just kind of, I usually catch you guys on the repeat, but today I got up early, so I got you live, so I could actually call in for a change.
Aren't you awesome? What's been on the menu lately, Mike?
Oh, boy. We've been doing a lot of pork tenderloin, a lot of turkeys, prime rib.
What's your holiday, like your, I don't know if you celebrate Christmas, but what's on the Christmas menu, if that's a thing?
So I'm a big turkey for Thanksgiving. It's always prime rib for Christmas.
Love it. Class.
Yeah, it's got to be a prime rib.
What's on your mind football-wise, pal?
All right, so here's the deal. I got 3 things. Number 1, the NFL and the public have been waiting to give Brock Purdy the MVP since last year before he got hurt.
Thank you. You're so right.
It's a Cinderella story.
Yep.
Everybody wants to see it happen. He's like Bill Murray in Caddyshack. They've been dying to give him the MVP because of the story that goes along with it. And all he has to do is not get hurt, and he's already got a 1.
I love it. It's like, what is it? 16T, Augusta.
Yep.
So good.
So, number 2, I think it's going to be the Bills and San Fran in the Super Bowl. I think that the Bills are so crazy unpredictable about when they're going to show up and play. And I think that's going to be what puts them there in San Francisco from the NFC is just the hardest team to beat right now. The last one is Belichick. Everybody keeps talking about Bill Belichick being this great coach, which he was. And I still think he was one of the greatest coaches of all time. But his style of football has gone away. It's antiquated. He is a defense first, passing as a supplement to the run game. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to have the deep threat to win because you can do the dump-off passes with the yards after catch that goes along with a great blocking receiving core. And that's not the game anymore. If you don't have that deep threat to pull in the pass interference call that gets you at least 2 or 3 huge plays a game, you can't win. And he keeps playing that same game, and he keeps playing the GM role, bringing in players to supplement that game, trying to prove that you can still win that way. And you can't. It's not the modern NFL. And I don't think that any team that has those great threats is going to want someone like Belichick because you're going to stifle a great offense by bringing somebody like him in. I think it's the worst decision somebody like San Diego could do to take a great quarterback with a great wide receiving core and a decent run game and bring in someone like Belichick and try to completely revamp it to turn it into Belichick football, which doesn't win anymore.
Man. Mike, you make some great points. Thank you for getting up super early on the West Coast just to hang with us and have a happy holiday.
Well, I think, Mike, they can't complete an 8-yard pass or a 30-yard pass. So right. It'd be nice. They could barely hit a screenplay. So I think the confidence level of that receiving core is at 0.
Mike makes a lot of good points about, I think on the defensive side, Belichick is fine, right? He's proven that even when he loses really important pieces, he still has a really great defense. On the offensive side, yes, it does look a bit antiquated, but I asked this question, I don't mean to oversimplify things, but what if Mac Jones was just better? Like, what if he and this is partly Belichick's fault too, is that Mac Jones regressed to the point where he's been benched multiple times now. And if Mac Jones, if they had just hit a little bit better on the quarterback, or they had developed Mac Jones to be a better quarterback, I don't think we're talking about Belichick being so washed. I think this all has to do with Jones.
I think it's offensive coaching, and that's the worst receiving core in the NFL, 2 years running. I mean, you couldn't invent a worse receiving core. Who's going to throw to these? That's why Tom Brady wanted to get out of there. He's like, these receivers stink.
Well, these guys weren't even the ones who were there when he was there.
Yeah,
Juju
Yeah. But it was like, it was starting to go downhill, and now it's just dead in the water. Mac Jones is not good, but those receivers are terrible. The whole offensive game plan is bad. No, I think it's a combination of things. I think the offensive coaching is not good. I'm not as big a Bill O'Brien guy as some people are. I thought he was a little overrated at Alabama. No, I think this. I agree completely with Mike. It would take all the fun out of the Chargers if Bill Belichick went there. Does anyone want to see Justin Herbert with Bill Belichick?
I think they'd be lucky to get him just to try to change the culture with the Chargers. Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got headlines. Hello.
Hello again. Let's put the context aside for the moment. This impressive in your season debut after missing 25 games.
4 seconds, 3 seconds. Morant into the lane, spins, hangs, floats. It's good! Zeros on the clock. Morant wins the game in his return. 25 games later, the Grizzlies have shown they are going to make a charge back into the Western Conference picture.
Let's not get carried away. Pete Pranica on Grizzlies radio. Ja did score 34, hit the game winner in his season debut. His team is now 7-19 after beating the 7-19 Pelicans 115-113. So I don't know how worried the rest of the West is just yet. Ja's season only beginning last night because he was suspended for a second bad decision involving a gun. The 34 points, the most anyone has scored in his return from any absence of at least 25 games.
Obviously, I've been prepping for this for, almost 8 months. It's been 8 months since I, played a game. I'm confident, in the work I was putting in and, trying to be in the best shape possible to go out there and, be able to, be out there for the guys.
And for the record, there were some people who weren't excited about Ja's return long before the buzzer beater.
A lot of people that don't like me, so see what I got them. But it was just, I feel like the surprising part was, I got called in the starting lineup. It was loud cheers, and then when the game started, it went to boos. I don't know the reason. I don't know, what I did to the Pelicans or their fans, but hey, they got to root for their team, so it's all good.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize what's going on here. I think Ja's... Okay. So obviously they do like him, which is why they cheered for him to come back, right? That's why an opposing crowd would cheer anybody, is because they want to like Ja. People want him to be one of the faces of the league. And then once you start playing, well, now you're the opponent. So, of course, now you're going to get booed. That's not too tough to figure out. I think Ja still can become, the redemption story is on.
Oh, yeah. People love a redemption story. But
definitely.
Also, Zion could use a redemption. I don't know why he stinks so bad right now. But that's besides the point.
Redemption from something else, like the beignet.
Yeah.
Or the
no, I totally agree.
OnlyFans models.
Yeah.
This is, I always say this is a build them up, tear them down. Like, people like to see these dramatic swings in people's lives. It's good drama. It's like a play. Ja Morant is like a play or a movie. It's an incredible story because he couldn't be farther down. And I think they're 7-19, you said, Bogusch?
Yeah.
I think they make a run back into the playoffs. First of all, everybody makes playoffs in the NBA.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be really good. I think this is going to become one of the big stories of the year.
Yeah, it's just going to be whether or not Ja can keep it together. See, the build him up and tear him down, I don't want the media or anyone to get, we didn't tear him down. He put himself in bad position, in two bad positions.
Fans find it compelling, too. It's not just the media. I do think the media really loves that storyline. But you like a storyline, and this is a great storyline, the fact that he could not have been any lower. Yeah. I mean, there's no recent NBA superstar of that level who's sunk beneath Ja Morant. You blew it all, it seemed like.
Yeah.
But now he's going to come back. And by the way, the Pelicans are not 7-19. Not to correct you, Bogusch. They're in the playoff picture.
Did I misread their record?
Yeah, I think you did.
They're not that bad, no.
Oh, my bad.
They're 16-12.
My fault.
Yeah, I feel bad now. That was totally unnecessary for me to call out Bogusch.
No, that you should. I still think that Pete Pranica got a little worked up by one basket, but still.
But do we all agree that 7-19, can Ja Morant lead them back in? And won't that be the story of the year?
Yes.
Just because of what you're saying?
There's still plenty of time.
Yeah.
And I think everyone wants to like this guy because of how he plays. The above the rim, him with the game winner last night. I mean, it's like, I think everyone actually wanted to like him even after the first video came out in the strip club. I think everyone's like, well,
a lot of people defended him.
Let's give him a shot. Let's give him a chance. Maybe we don't know the whole story, whatever. He's going to get some help. And then it was the second one. It's like, all right, well, now I feel like a fool because I believed that this guy was going to change and be different. And I think everyone wants to be back on board with John.
Yeah, and also he's from Murray State. He's a little Brock Purdy magic. He's a Cinderella story. It's not like he was the number one recruit who blew all this talent. He has, he kind of came out of nowhere in college.
And in some ways, I think the best thing that could have happened to him was that the Grizzlies started this season 6-19. Because remember, the other big storyline was that are the Grizzlies better off without Ja?
That was crazy last year.
How many of those games that they won without him, they were going on big winning streaks, and there was numbers that suggested maybe he wasn't as big of a difference maker, as crazy as that sounded, as Perloff mentioned. So seeing them this season come into a year without Ja Morant and have these struggles, now he can come in and be the white knight on his horse coming in and maybe saving the season, which I definitely agree is on the table for the Grizzlies.
It's on the table, but the thing, at least for me, is we still don't know if he's quote unquote better,
Changed,
right? We just don't know, and we might not know until next year, or we might not know we won't know until it's 10 years from now, and he's played uninterrupted, and there's been no other mistakes because it's his fault. Maybe why we're here, or maybe he has real problems that he's actually addressing and he's going to get over them, and he's more victim than anything else. Well, we just don't know.
If the people around him put down their phones, then what's the difference? He's always been able to play at a high level. It's never affected his
Well, the difference is he might not deserve us celebrating his return. Like if he's made a series of bad, immature decisions because he just made bad decisions, then I don't want to have fun watching him play basketball again.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just the IG Live incidents. You remember there was this thing he's still dealing with the civil suit where he punched a kid who was 17.
Week.
Exactly.
Right.
There's the laser pointer was into the Pacers bus that got them nervous. So
and the dude that was involved in that, who was in court, is still on his payroll.
He kept that guy around?
Yeah, he can't go into gyms, but he still works for John Morant.
Right. I didn't love seeing the dads front and center like that again. That was the only thing. I'm all supportive of dads who support their sons, but like some of the issue I think has been like John Morant's dad kind of treats him like he's they're both celebrities.
I was just gonna say it. I took a pause because I'm like, do we want to say this? But I think what's hard, because we talked to Benny the Butcher about this, who's the famed rapper who had lived that life in the streets and then came out of it, and we asked him for his advice for John Morant. And he said, you got to get these toxic people who are around you. You got to get them kind of out of your inner circle. Yeah. And I'm not saying his dad is toxic necessarily, but some of the reporting is dad is living the NBA lifestyle and dad wants to live the NBA lifestyle and is doing that through his son. How do you kick your dad out of the inner circle? That is a much different conversation than saying, hey, I need you to take a step back, friend. Stuff like that.
Also, his best friend Devontae Pack was there courtside last night too. That was caused a lot of consternation.
I thought that's the guy who's not supposed to be in the arenas anymore, but it's the away arena. I think he's not supposed to be in the Grizzlies. Home arena.
Ah, okay. That seems like a weird
and
loophole.
I thought maybe there was also it was a kind of a temporary ban. I'm not sure if it was a forever ban.
Was this a Big Dom ban? Or
I kind of thought it was that. I mean, we'll see, I guess, whenever the Grizzlies play at home if he's back. But yeah, that was probably the only imaging. And then he was a little defensive when it came to the booing. I didn't love that either. Humble pie. Right now, it's all humble pie.
Right.
Just happy to be here.
I'll win you over.
Yes.
Right.
T. Morant is playing halftime at the Super Bowl, though.
Yeah, sure. He does look exactly.
I heard he's in Vegas, too, doing a residence.
He would definitely be in Vegas.
You ever seen the picture of the two of them sitting next to each other wearing the same outfit? It's great. They are identical twins.
Only 3 other games in the NBA last night. The Suns blew an early 22-point lead, lost in Portland 109-104. The Warriors rallied past the Celtics 132-126. In overtime, Steph scored 33. And Damian Lillard had 40 in the Bucks' 132-119 win over the Spurs. Lillard now the 8th active player with 20,000 career points. And men's college hoops last night, number 6 Marquette took a 72-57 tumble at Providence. Guys, back to you.
Thank you so much, Bogusch. In our YouTube chat, Ben Franklin, who hangs out, says, where can I get some prime rib at 7 o'clock in the morning? Is that what you guys eat on the holidays?
More roast beef than prime rib, but so same family.
We do turkey.
Okay.
Last year was the first year, so because I was working, I did not see my family on Christmas. But we did do a dinner at a French restaurant. And Carrington Harrison, someone on CBS Sports Radio on the weekends, he put over prime rib big time the day before when I was working with him. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to a French restaurant. They had a prime rib special. Delightful. And since then, I'm like, man, I got to find a way to get my mom to put that on the menu.
Your convert, Ryan?
Italian. most of the time.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect.
Lasagna, chicken cutlets, all that stuff.
I love it.
And you guys all the seafood the day before, right? Christmas Eve?
I'm not that Italian.
Oh.
So
Seven fishes?
Fishes,
No,
right.
Not that
I don't do
Italian.
that. No.
A comic once said this. I can't. Maybe it was Sebastian Maniscalco. I can't remember who. He's like, I love how Italian people, they know their food is the best, so they never compromise. It's like, what do you serve on Thanksgiving? Italian food. What do you serve on Christmas? Italian food. What do you serve on Easter? Italian food. Like, you never compromise. I love it.
Prime rib overrated.
Wow.
Too fatty. Not my kind of cut. I'd rather have a filet any day of the week.
But see, like, filet, to me, that's steak. I don't think of prime rib as steak.
Interesting.
I think of it as almost like
I know what you're saying.
Adjacent to pot roast almost.
Huh.
Yeah, and it's also like, I think where I'm with you on is it's really, really delicate. You can get a really bad, pointless piece of prime rib, more so than maybe anything else. Like, it's just, if it's not done well, it can be all fat.
If it's not a center cut or something, it has to be a little bit pink.
You have to know what you're doing to make prime rib.
Yeah. I don't think it's overrated, though. I think you have to do
a gamble.
it sparingly, though.
Right. But you're not going to have a random Tuesday, hey, let's have prime rib tonight.
Right. It's like, what are you in the mood for? It's like a prime rib. All right. Well, we'll get more into holiday stuff, too, as we continue the countdown today. The top moments of the Maggie and Perloff show of 2023. Today, we are down to moment number 3. We'll do that later on in the show. Coming up next, we hear from Deion Sanders, what he had to say about SHAEDEUR and his thoughts for next year. We'll get to that in just moments.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
This is Maggie Gray with an Odyssey Sports Minute sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. This is Maggie Gray with a CBS Sports Minute sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. The college football playoff is on.
Thirty seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, CBS Sports Radio. Let's get to our Daily Deion.
Daily.
Do you believe that?
Deion.
You believe that?
Keeping you updated on all things Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. Well, Deion did a wide-ranging interview with the Associated Press. We do not have any audio of this, but we can tell you he said that SHAEDEUR Sanders, his son, is going to be back at spring practices. He has a fractured bone in his back, Perloff. He took an unprecedented beating this year at Colorado, but Deion says he will be back. They also have basically gone crazy in recruiting new offensive linemen out of the transfer portal and recruiting out of high school. They also hired former Vikings offensive line coach to try to make sure that SHAEDEUR stays upright next year. Phil Load-Holt will be the new team's offensive lineman.
That dude, even I know that guy's name. He's been around forever. Hashtag protect number 2. I'm all about it. Of course he's going to be the number 1 quarterback prospect in this class. Everything is shaping up perfectly for a big shit. He's probably front runner for Heisman. Probably every mock draft of him number 1 overall. This is going to be SHAEDEUR's year.
Okay, well, I thought you guys were more interested about a rumor that's going around on the internet about
There's a
SHAEDEUR.
report that he's the strong front runner to be the cover of EA Sports College Football. And I actually had to check this. EA Sports for a long time could not put college football players on there. Now they can again. These players can get compensated.
Yep.
I mean, this is going to be a must-have cover, right? If it is SHAEDEUR, let's go.
SHAEDEUR on the cover, and I would venture to say they'd probably do a twist and put Deion on the cover too, like in the back maybe, like SHAEDEUR in the foreground and Deion in the background.
Well, it is. Then you get into like how much you have to pay Deion, how much you have to pay
Whatever
SHAEDEUR.
it takes.
How much is SHAEDEUR going to make this year? If he's on the cover of EA and he's already got these national commercials using Deion's son, I mean, he's going to make way more than he would as a rookie in the NFL. I know it'll take him longer to get to that rookie contract. He's going to make $10 million next year.
Yeah, is he going to be the front runner for the Heisman?
Well, who is
I
it?
don't know. I mean, Jalen Milroe is going to be coming back.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with J.J. McCarthy in the college football playoff. You're going to have Quinn Ewers, says he's coming back. We'll see what happens with him in the college football playoff. You're going to have other guys.
Yeah,
like
Carson Beck is back.
Jackson Dart's going to be back at Ole Miss.
Oh, Ole Miss is a juggernaut.
Yes.
I mean, that
They just got
that
2 more wide receivers in the portal.
Yeah, they just re-signed Kiffin, too. I mean, that team is going all in. Yeah, I understand, but I think SHAEDEUR is number 1 over all those guys. Name the one guy. There's a lot of good guys, but SHAEDEUR, because maybe type, but he's SHAEDEUR Sanders. You know, I'm sorry, but Quinn Ewers is Quinn Ewers. There's just so much more buzz around this dude.
Well, I mean, they're doing the right things here for Colorado, right? Because the offensive line, they said it was going to be an issue. It ended up being, I think, an even bigger issue than what Deion had anticipated. So they're doing everything they possibly can to try to improve there. Because, because of Deion Sanders, you're going to get good wide receiver, cornerback. Like, you're good just by virtue of his cult of personality and his experience. Those guys are going to come running.
Dude played quarterback and a little wide receiver in the NFL, so of course you could get those edge guys. Here's the best move he did for his quarterback. He's moving to the Big 12. Hello. This is get out of the. It happened to be a great year in the Pac-12. That hurt Deion for sure. He's going to have a much easier schedule. This is going to be big points out of Colorado. I don't know if they can stop anyone. I don't know if they're going to be a complete team, but I think if SHAEDEUR stays healthy, he's going to great.
Yeah, let's not forget Travis Hunter, I think still with a Heisman candidacy, because doing both and playing both sides, both ways rather, I think maybe they take votes away from each other, but he will be heard from, I think, this season.
He's got to avoid some big hits too. That guy gets blown up all over the place.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. It is Wednesday, which means it is a great debate Wednesday. What is the topic du jour? Give you a hint. Has to do with football. The NFL. We get to it next. Maggie Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Okay, here I go. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She was the Heisman Trophy winner in 1986. He left her off the ballot. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. On Wednesdays around here, we do something called Great Debate Wednesdays. We take something kind of loosely in the news, and we put our Maggie and Perloff spin on it. And this week, it is basically taken from Tom Brady, who has, since he retired, really been a lightning rod because of his opinions about the NFL. And we love it. We want to hear candid stars like Tom Brady and what he really thinks about the league. He's called it mediocre. He thinks that the NFL was better 20 years ago than it is today. So there's where the debate is. Was the NFL better 20 years ago than it is today?
Absolutely not. There's a few reasons here that I don't like Tom Brady's take. First of all, I am a caring individual. I care about these wide receivers and these safeties. Why would you want to see the sport you love, everyone going out there and trying to collide helmets and cause concussions? That, if you actually step back, is not a good thing. So let's start there. Just a conscious, I don't want to see people get hurt. But second of all, because they've emphasized safety, it has made the game more high-flying, more spread out, more offense, more touchdowns, more passing. I don't want to go back to 1997 where it was handoff first down, handoff second down, 3rd and 8. Okay, punt. That kind of football is so boring. I love this wide open football that has resulted from the rule changes. It's a much more entertaining product, and I think that is the reason that as sports ratings continue to plummet for all other live sports, NFL keeps going up. It is the most popular sport and is more of the most popular sport than it's ever been, in part because there's so much offense. And I think that's a great thing for the sport. There's no downside to this. Okay. I don't understand why Tom Brady wants to go back to James Harrison taking out wide receivers. It just is, that to me is not more entertaining. Okay,
if you want to go on the safety side, listen, was there a little of like a blissful ignorance? Not about in the short term what these hits would do to guys. We knew in the short term, obviously they were devastating, but we didn't really understand the full long-term effects. And so, yes, does that, was there a little bit of this is fun to watch these guys getting blown up in these big hits? Well, we just didn't know enough back then. Now we do, and it's a little bit different. But I'm sorry to say that, and I agree with Brady that it was better 20 years ago, because you're saying that the NFL is more watchable product now because the offense is. Yeah. I'm sorry, was there not T.O.? Was there not Randy Moss? Did we not have great wide receivers? It's like, did we not have Chris Carter? We had awesome wide receivers 20 years ago, by the way, guys. It was not 1997. It was 2003, before when these rules kind of changed to open up the offense. We've had great receivers, and they were able to do their thing. Like, to say now that the receivers are better, or you're just getting more yards and maybe a few more passes, but the elite wide receivers, we still had them 20 years ago. That's not a new invention.
Receivers are definitely better right now. There are so many, and yes, the top end was insane back then, but there was one Randy Moss. Now there's guys all over the league who can make incredible catches. Guys, JSN had this catch that would have been one of the best catches of the year in 2003 on Monday night for the Seahawks. That doesn't even stand out. There's so many great catches.
Perloff, the most famous
receivers
catch.
Receivers are so much better right now than they were 20 years ago.
The most famous catch, arguably in the history of the NFL, is David Tyree. It's not like we had guys first of all, we had guys all over from the elite to the non-elite making huge plays, and you still had these awesome moments, even if that was in the 20 years ago, area, 2007.
I just think if we're just talking about receivers, the sport has changed so much. Kids are coming up playing 7-on-7, and they're passing the ball in high school, middle school, high school, college, into the pros. Yeah. The passing game is just blown up. So there's so many more reps. So there's so many good receivers who can do so many incredible things. It wasn't like that before.
Okay.
In 2003, the depth of receivers was nowhere near this. Also, gloves help a lot, too.
I think the gloves do help.
But they had them in 2003 as well.
But if you go back 20 years ago, and for the people who want all this scoring now, who was that really for, right? That is for the fantasy players, and that is for the gamblers. 20 years ago, you actually were able to have entertaining defenses because they weren't so hamstrung by the rules now where you basically can't touch a guy, whether it's by the line of scrimmage, you can't touch a quarterback, you can't touch anybody in space. You had defenses that were entertaining. Like the Ravens defenses, those were fun defenses to watch. The Steelers were fun to watch. Like they made it compelling because of how good they were.
Nobody wanted to watch the Ravens win 10-7. Those games were so boring.
Perloff, the Super Bowl that year where they crushed the Giants, they were the offense. The defense was so good, it was the offense too.
That was the least entertaining Super Bowl.
Well, because it was a blowout, but that was that kind of defensive performance. You had to sit there and marvel at it.
So you'd rather watch Tony Banks and that Ravens team than Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Come on.
Listen, here's the thing about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So you're giving me like maybe the greatest quarterback when all's said and done of all time, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs and Andy Reid. But I'm talking about I would have liked to seen what Ray Lewis and that Ravens defense could have actually done against Patrick Mahomes. We have so neutered the defenses now because people like you think it's a more entertaining product if the offenses get to do whatever they want, that we're never even going to understand. Patrick Mahomes is never going to ever have to encounter anything like what some of the great quarterbacks in the early 2000s had to encounter. And that brings me to my other point about why I agree with Brady now. You mentioned there's so many great quarterbacks now. Like, where'd the rivalries go? Back when Brady was talking about the early 2000s, Brady versus Manning, Brady versus Phillip Rivers, Brady versus Roethlisberger, Roethlisberger versus Manning, Manning versus Manning. I mean, I know they were in different conferences, but we had these great rivalries. Who is Patrick Mahomes' rival? Is it Burrow? Is it Josh Allen? I don't even know because those guys, Burrow's beaten him once.
Who is Brady's rival?
I think Brady's rival was Roethlisberger. I think his rival was Peyton Manning for sure. It was Peyton Manning. Brady versus Manning. That was it.
Well, first of all,
it was Ray Lewis.
You're talking about
honest.
I'm talking about the entire NFL for what was then a 17-week season or even 16. I can't remember. Yes, you're talking about the very, 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 very top end. Yeah, that was exciting to see Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in the playoffs. But that's not a whole season. Now you have great games. You have several great games a week. You have players all over the field.
No, because you think the NFL's mediocre right now at the bottom.
This year has been a bad year because of the injuries.
No.
But, the NFL, first of all, the NFL is bananas right now.
I said I like the end of Bears-Browns. I got clowned by that by you and by EJ.
But it was Flacco versus Fields. Yeah.
I like the end of the Texans game against the Titans. I got clowned about that by you and EJ. You guys don't even like the product right now.
Well, I'll tell you though, this has been a bad year because of the quarterback injuries.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mediocrity, but the playoffs are going to be amazing. This is shaping up to be one of the most entertaining playoffs. When Brady was playing, it was, oh my God, who are the Patriots going to destroy in Foxborough this year? There was so much less drama. The playoffs are going to be completely unpredictable this year, except for San Francisco. I think there's just so much going on right now. And you have an elite Cowboys team. I think this is going to just dominate the entire sports world for a month.
Well, that's a different
back then
story.
the NFL just wasn't as popular because it wasn't as entertaining. Nobody wanted to see the Ravens win 10-7 or the Patriots use a bunch of special teams play to win 21-14.
Okay.
That was not exciting football.
First of all, it wasn't, if you're just joining us, we're doing our great debate series for this week, which is, was football better 20 years ago or is it better now, which is based off of a comment that Tom Brady made. First of all, the Ravens are still winning those low-scoring games and still want to win those low-scoring games. That not that much has changed about it. And there was a 10-year gap in between Super Bowl wins for the Patriots. It wasn't like they were the dynasty, of course, of 20 years ago, but it wasn't always a fait accompli. And I kind of like that because when you have like a villain or you have a great team, the teams that are trying to topple them, like that to me is super compelling. I also, and this kind of fast forwards a little into what we're even talking about today with Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. I loved 20 years ago that running backs mattered.
Why?
Running backs could win MVP. Running backs who took over games could actually be rewarded, compensated. Like, you think the running back is like the most boring position ever.
Yeah.
I think the running back is a great position. Like, I love watching running backs take over games. Hell, I mean, I love watching James Cook run all over the Dallas Cowboys. There should still be a place for running backs like 20 years ago when we really appreciated running backs. Now we don't. We franchise tag them. We throw them out with the bathwater, all that stuff. It is not right.
I think that early 2000 running back, the best thing about them, if you really want to have a nap, go back and Google a 2002 football game where Curtis Martin's running the ball for 3 yards a carry for 32 times. First down, run, 3 yards. Second down, run, 3 yards. A 3rd and 4. Let's see what they do. Okay, it's a pass. It may or may not work. It's so boring. The football was not exciting back then. It wasn't innovative. Coaches didn't know they were allowed to throw the ball on first down. There was no creativity at all. There was no, Greatest Show on Turf was good. They're an exception. But there was
the early 2000s.
But now it's everywhere. Basically, the college spread came into the NFL. The whole sport is wide open and unpredictable, and you have to beware of a DK Metcalf can go long on you in every play. It's just so much more possibilities in today's NFL, and I think that's why you have to watch. Back then, it was somewhat predictable.
I think it's amazing that we're having this revisionist history like they never threw the ball in the early 2000s. Like, that's,
well, I mean, obviously the rule change was, 04, 05? That's when things changed. When Peyton Manning was able to throw 55 touchdowns, the sport got exciting. And the ratings have gone up steadily ever since for that very reason.
There's another part of this where I appreciated football more in the early 2000s than I do today. And part of it is because what teams have figured out is it's so much easier to win if your quarterback is on a rookie contract. They changed the rules so that, Sam Bradford couldn't get $50 million guaranteed before he ever stepped on a training camp.
Right.
And they changed it. And
Which
while
is good,
that
right?
was the spirit of that was in the right place,
right.
The ripple effect of what it did was it made it so much more cost effective to win when your quarterbacks are young. And again, we're talking about Tom Brady saying that football is better 20 years ago than it is today. And I agree with him, and Perloff does not. So what happened? Now we have quarterbacks who are being forced into action much earlier than perhaps they would have been. Like, the fact that Patrick Mahomes even sat for a season now seems like that was crazy. If Patrick Mahomes was in the draft now, like, he's not getting that courtesy. Like, nobody gets it. Very rare, right?
He was a 2017 draft. It's not that long ago.
I know, but you don't we just push and push and push these quarterbacks who are fresh out of college, who are just not ready at times. I know CJ Stroud is like an outlier. They're not ready to start. And they get pushed because there's idea you got to maximize the rookie contract, because of one reason why the NFL was better 20 years ago is that the quarterbacks aren't taking up 25% of your salary cap.
Well, I don't understand. What about Matthew Stafford and Sam Bradford and those guys who got $60 million?
A lot of that was bonus money. I'm talking about cap hits. Like, it's now where the top five quarterbacks now are basically taking up between 23 and 26% of the total overall salary cap. That's not how it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, another thing, though, the safer league, now quarterbacks can play forever, so you have Aaron Rodgers is still a viable NFL quarterback at 40. So
then why do we have so many injuries this year? Why am I watching 15 backups if it's so much safer?
It's a funny year, but I mean, do you think
same thing last year, 70
1999?
quarterbacks
Do you think Aaron Rodgers is still playing in 1999?
He might not be, but you know what? Guys who were like, we had 70 quarterbacks start last year too. We want to say that this year is the anomaly with these quarterback injuries. Guys, it's not. If we get one more season of this, that's 3 in a row. That's called a trend. So the idea that, the quarterbacks are healthier, they might be playing longer, but we're still seeing them get hurt.
Well, they're flinging the ball all over the field. That's why they're passing more, and
they're running more.
Don't you? But let me just make this clear. Sep, you like to see a lot of running back play and a lot of defense. That's your style of football.
Well, back in the early 2000s, defenses could actually be fun and entertaining to watch.
But
they can't be anymore.
Can I note that your team is the Buffalo Bills?
Listen, and I wish they played differently.
You want to see them go back to old school, grind it out? Come on, who likes that kind of football?
How elated was I with the last game that the Bills played?
Yeah, because they blew out the Cowboys.
No, because they ran the ball for 266 yards in a bad weather game, as opposed to trying to do this high flying thing just because they feel like they should because they've got Josh Allen. It's not smart. Now. So you'd rather see Sean Alexander be the MVP with a bunch of 4-yard runs than Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson and my guy Brock Purdy flinging it all over the field? Listen, fling all you want. I'm just saying that's not necessarily making it better football, because basically you're flinging it because you're hoping to get defensive pass interference and get a cheap yards and trying to, use the strategy that way. Back in 20 years ago, we didn't have flopping. We didn't have guys just basically trying to beg the referees for calls. We didn't have quarterbacks just trying to sell everything all over the place. They were actually trying to protect themselves. It's crazy. It's out of control. And I like replay. Replay, but we've gotten to a point where it's just insane at this point. It's nuts. We have no idea what a catch is. We have no idea. You can look at 100 different angles. People are still breaking down Julian Love's interception from the other day against the Eagles. Was his toe down? Was it not down? We didn't have that kind of crap.
That was, first of all that is entertaining. In 1999, they were just wildly guessing if the guy's in bounds or not. I don't know when did replay start. Actually, maybe it started by then. The sport without replay is unthinkable. I mean, it must have been garbage officiating all over the place. We now have Twitter to call this out. Back then, anybody's guess what's actually happening. You ever tried to call football in real time? It's impossible.
It is. We have jumped the shark.
That's not good.
Big.
That's not good that they were inaccurate. And by the way, they need more replay. They haven't jumped the shark enough. And one thing they've done this year is they expedited replay, which is kind of awesome too.
It took long enough. Are we that sure that they were that bad back in the day?
Oh, they were awful.
Okay.
Well, awful. They had no idea what was going on because they didn't have replay.
That doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. You don't know how many calls were blown. I'm watching Saints-Rams 2018. That's recent. That was one of the worst calls we've ever seen in history. Changed the course of history. That happened with replay available.
So I watch a lot of hardwood classics on NBA TV. Yeah. I love 90s basketball. Sometimes NFL Network shows old 90s NFL games. Unwatchable. Just slow, no yellow line. I can't tell where the heck the first down is. It's a different sport. Innovation. It's just, it looks, first of all, the players look like they're stuck in quicksand. The game is so slow.
Okay, now we want to hear from you. Great debate on this Wednesday. Was football better 20 years ago than it is today? I'm with Tom Brady on this. Perloff says he's a stooge.
Of course, Tom Brady, Big Ten guy. I guess you're a Big Ten guy. Give me the Big 12. Give me offense. I don't want to see defense. Why would I tune in to see defense? My life's boring enough.
855-212-4CBS. Maggie and Perloff, let us know what you think. You can also vote. Let's do this on the Twitter. Maggie and Pearl on X. Was football better 20 years ago? Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Great show debate today. It's Wednesday. Great debate. Our debate today is, was the NFL better 20 years ago, as Tom Brady claims, or is it peaking today, as Andrew Perloff claimed? Tom Brady, Andrew Perloff, same.
Yeah.
Give us a call, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Is the sport better 20 years ago? I say no way.
And I say yes. I'm with Brady. Tony is in Vancouver, Washington, has a thought on it. Good morning, Tony.
Yeah, I agree. It was better. It was better back in the day there, but I do like some of the rules they have now. Yeah, I'm glad that they got rid of the head hunting. Just watch Jack Tatum taking out Darryl Stingley, and you'll see why that has to be in there. I also like the chop block rule, where an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman are engaging, and somebody comes in and takes their knees out. I like that rule too. But hitting a defenseless receiver below the neck and above the knees, that shouldn't be a penalty. I'm sorry, it is right now. These guys don't know whether it's a penalty or they're going to get fined or they're going to get suspended. They don't know what a tackle is anymore because it's really been watered down so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Tony, thank you. And that was part of my argument, just part of my argument about why I agree with Brady, which is I don't want the headhunting. I'm with Tony there. Nobody wants that. We know the long-term effects are just devastating. Nobody wants it. But you've taken out defenses to the point where defenses used to be entertaining. Like they used to be
for blowing guys up.
Well, but a reason to tune in, and they could be so good like Ravens and the Steelers in the early 2000s that it would almost like the offense could be the secondary and you would still have an entertaining game. And
I don't know. Why would a young fan tune in for defense at any level? When I was a kid, I could care less about defense. I just wanted to see the great offensive players.
Okay, but
nobody fantasizes about, man, I can't, it's 2 seconds left in the Super Bowl. I want to be the middle linebacker. You want to be the wide receiver or the running back.
Nobody wanted to be Ray Lewis. No one wanted to be Ed Reed.
You don't go in your backyard and be like, oh, man, I'm going to be a really effective safety. No, you want to be, you dreamed of being, Tony Dorsett or Emmitt Smith.
Nobody wanted to be Troy Polamalu?
No, you don't want to be Troy Polamalu when you're a kid. You wanted to be Antonio Brown.
Okay, but you want to you can still watch these really entertaining safeties, and it was actually a thing to have this sort of punishing defense, even if the offense wasn't the star. Like your defense could be the star unit on your team, and that's just impossible now. Like you can have star players on defense. We've got Michael Parsons, we've got Myles Garrett, we've got TJ Watt, we've got all these really good players and pass rushers, but you're not going to be able to have you're not going to be able to lead first with the defense, or else you're not going to win a Super Bowl, because right now offenses are the thing.
Well, right.
And quarterbacks are the thing.
Except maybe Cleveland. One thing, though, just as far as popularity and interest, there's no doubt offensive players are more popular and more interesting. We have a good friend of the show, Dusty Stanfield, does marketing, and he recruits college players. And I'm like, oh, this guy's a superstar. Well, look at this defensive end. He's like, yeah. He's like, you can't market off of anybody except a skill position player, because nobody wants to be these guys. You don't fantasize about being a nose tackle. It's the skill guys that drive the ship.
Totally. And I get that, but I think that's also because of the rise of fantasy football. I think it's because of the rise of gambling. All of that stuff has to be tied in.
Why does gambling have anything to do with one way or the other? I think it's because
points. You want more. People are betting overs. People are betting player props. There aren't a lot of defensive player props that you're going to be betting on. No.
Well, no. I think gambling is always been popular. No, I don't think
much more accessible now.
Yeah, but I don't think that has anything to do with offense versus defense. I think the game is a 6-point spread. It doesn't matter how you get that 6 points. But regardless of that,
but
I do think right now seeing all these great skill players and all these great quarterbacks, to me, makes the sport more entertaining.
So I think you had the great quarterbacks 20 years ago, and I like the fact that they had rivalries with each other. I mean, Brady, Manning, listen, Brady won so many more Super Bowls, but that's a legit debate that we can have forever. You have Ben Roethlisberger, you had Phillip Rivers. Like, you had really good quarterbacks, and there felt like rivalries. I was just thinking about something we were talking about in the break. Like, the NFL really took off as, like, America's sport for a lot of reasons around this time we're talking about, the early 2000s.
Yeah, right around the change that let quarterbacks go crazy, 2005. Well,
I think there's another part of this that is not the main reason, but one of the reasons, which is I think the other professional major sports didn't do their part, either consciously or unconsciously, to keep up with football. You had the NBA post-Michael Jordan in the early 2000s, after he officially retired from the Wizards, and they went into this post-Jordan funk where they couldn't find the next star, and it was hard to find a face of the league. The basketball got a little clunky. Wasn't great. You had baseball going through the biggest steroid scandal in the history of sports. 2003 was when the Mitchell Report came out. You had this, like, people were so disenchanted with baseball. It took a really huge hit. And I think hockey became more of a niche sport, partially because their TV contracts and things, they didn't keep up with ESPN, and it became a little harder to find a hockey game. And I think that impacted future fans. So I think the other major professional sports basically told football, here's the lane for you. And football said, thanks, we'll take it with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
I think baseball was more affected by the slow pace of play. I don't think it's, basically everything's sped up. You have social media, you have e-gaming. Baseball just had no chance. It's just a slow sport from yesteryear. I don't think the steroid era, that's a good point. I do think that hit the popularity, but you can't trust home runs anymore. But come on, there's no way baseball was going to survive in the year 2023. There's just too much going on. Everything's too fast-paced.
Andrew Bogusch is here with some headlines. Good morning, Bogusch.
Good morning, guys. Let's begin with the story that has held the nation's attention since Sunday. Tommy DeVito delivered yesterday, making unpaid appearance at Caniglio's Old Fashioned Pizza in Morristown, New Jersey. This the pizzeria that posted on Sunday that it was canceling yesterday's appearance as DeVito's agent, the legendary Sean Stellato, upped their fee to $20,000 from the agreed upon $10,000 after DeVito led the Giants to that win over the Packers 2 Monday nights ago. The DeVito camp contended there was no signed agreement, so increasing their price wasn't dirty pool. I guess all is well that ends well, and DeVito wins again because now he just shows up and for free eats pizza and shakes hands.
Yeah, but
and signs pepperoni.
It's great. Like, DeVito did the right thing. He made it right with the pizza place. But unfortunately for the pizza place, nobody knew he was coming. There were 4 people in there.
That's also true.
However, so I live about 17 minutes from this place.
Never heard of it?
Never heard of it. I mean, that's not their fault. That's my fault. Should I go?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah? All right. I got something to do today and tomorrow. But maybe Friday?
I know Portnoy has a monopoly on the pizza review, but I think you have to give
Do I
a
go
review.
there and do the pizza review?
Yeah, or maybe bring it back and then eat it on the treadmill.
Pizza on the treadmill?
Yeah.
That seems crazy. Hold on one second, Bogusch. Mike is in Boise, wants to weigh in on our great debate series today, which was football, the NFL, that is better 20 years ago than it is today. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Hey, I just thought I'd let you know that I have to agree with Maggie. I've been watching football for, quite a few years. And I can't think of a single nickname for an offense, but the defense was always exciting to watch, which is why you have the Legion of Boom, Steel Curtain, Purple People Eaters, and so on. So that's what I wanted to tell you, and Merry Christmas.
Mike, thank you so much.
That's definitely a fact. The nicknames for the defenses were sick back in the day. Now it's just like, I don't even know. What's the last time? Legion of Boom is the last one?
Yeah, well, what are you going to call, a bend, don't break? What would you like me to call that?
Right. Is there any, we got to look this up. Does any defense since the Legion of Boom have a nickname? There's got to be some unit out there.
I think there's no chance that's true.
Like Revis Island and Legion of Boom.
Revis Island's a good one.
Legion of Boom.
Yeah. Legion of Boom was like after Revis Island.
There's got to be one. Time, there's got to be some group of cornerbacks out there who call themselves something.
You can't touch anybody anymore.
Yeah, man, this Niner defense probably warrants a name. Doesn't have one. I don't think the Ravens ever got one.
Cowboys?
For what?
The defense. Yeah. I fell for it. What else you got, Bogusch?
I've got the dreaded vote of confidence maybe in Atlanta. Arthur Blank said the Falcons remain behind head coach Arthur Smith despite back-to-back losses, but everything will be reassessed after the season. Blank adding that making the playoffs this year was not required for Smith to keep his job, but he did want a more competitive team after back-to-back 7-win campaigns. Atlanta is currently 6-8. And no longer controls its own destiny.
Man, that's those are all the buzzwords right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's good for now. We'll assess at the end of the season. Oh boy,
we should be better. We're kind of not better.
Why did he bother giving him the vote? Why did Arthur Blank bother giving Arthur Smith any kind of vote of confidence a couple weeks ago? Like, just say nothing.
I think he thought they were going to win the division. I think he thought this division is so bad. We have so much talent. Like, eventually he's going to win out. And because they have the most talent.
And 2 weeks ago, they controlled their destiny.
Right.
And now they don't.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he counted the chickens before they hatched.
I mean, how about this? You got to make a decision on quarterback for real. You can't just go around thinking, we're going to do Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke.
No, it's good that they didn't put in an offer on Lamar Jackson. They didn't need that guy at all. Let's just continue doing this Atlanta Falcons thing for the next 20 years and have nobody care. By the way, football is better these days. The Atlanta Falcons are the same boring, bland crap.
Well, they had Mike Vick 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Get
20
out
years
here.
ago they were better. It was way more
No,
fun.
I'm saying the current Falcons are as boring as you come. Yeah, right. 20 years ago, the Falcons. I'm saying, in general, NFL is better now. The Falcons are not better now.
No,
they're
true.
old
Okay.
school. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the Vic Falcons. But generally, the Atlanta Falcons and all Atlanta sports tend to be a little boring.
Wait, can I tell you, not just that the Falcons didn't want Lamar Jackson, they were the first team to publicly put it out there that they were not going to be bidding on Lamar Jackson. Deshaun Watson, however, we will be in the bitter end to that discussion.
That's true.
But Lamar Jackson, can't be bothered.
I hope he got the game ball. Damian Lillard, a season-high 40 points last night. Early in the outing, he scored career point number 20,000.
I don't want to fake downplay it like it's nothing. I know it's a big deal. It's a great accomplishment. It's a rare space to be in. In the history of this league, to have only 51 players accomplish something like that, I think that speaks for itself.
Lillard is the 8th active player to reach the milestone. He and the Bucks won last night, 132-119 over the Spurs. Wemby has begun hiding from things, sitting out last night with a sore right ankle. Ja Morant returned from his
not helping
25-game suspension, scored 34 points, including the winner at the buzzer in New Orleans. His Grizzlies 7-19 after the 115-113 victory. The Pelicans, I swear, are 16-12, no matter what you heard earlier this morning. Florida State has apparently had more talks about leaving the ACC since their CFP snub, but again, leaving anytime soon nearly impossible because of the conference's grant of rights agreement. That runs through 2036. An exit fee might be $360 million.
Wait, where's Nevin Shapiro? Is he out of jail yet?
That's Miami. It's a Miami booster.
I know, but doesn't Miami also want out?
Oh, yeah, they all want out. But it's like these teams are the first team to sign like a Suge Knight kind of record deal contract. These ACC schools. That contract is ironclad.
Who is the big FSU donor?
I don't know if they have one. Actually, that actually was an issue several years ago that their facilities weren't up to snuff and they didn't have enough money, and they found the money somewhere, like most of these schools. But that was an issue. I don't know who they're.
I think it's Danny Cannell.
Well, I think I think it's good that they don't have a person we know, because the problem is we know who Miami's guys are and they keep getting arrested and keep getting investigated by the FBI.
And it's funny, T. Boone Pickens always comes up in these conversations, and Oklahoma State's never been among the elite of elite. Who's the Alabama guy? You don't know. You just know there's a lot of money.
I think if you have one guy, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, Alabama,
not for Oregon.
I think Alabama didn't have enough guys. I don't think they had enough.
Well,
they
that's
were
what
worried they
Saban-
didn't have enough money.
Yeah, and then everything's fine.
Yeah.
He was saying that when they were losing in a national championship game.
Right. Yeah, Phil Knight's the exception to the
But
rule.
who
Usually
are my favorite? T. Boone Pickens and
Yeah.
Phil Knight. We don't really know all the other schools' names necessarily.
But when we know them, it's usually because they mess up or they break a rule.
Yeah,
there's
Shapiro.
infamy
Nev
to their
Shapiro.
name.
Those are
Or now John Ruiz, the Life Wallet guy, who also now maybe crooked too.
the Michigan guy with Chris Webber. Generally, if you know a booster's name, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Where were we? Oh, yeah. Knowles defensive end Jared Verse, by the way, declaring for the draft he'll skip their bowl game. Lane Kiffin signs an undisclosed extension at Ole Miss. Men's college basketball last night. Marquette losing at Providence 72-57. There was some hockey. Ottawa wasting a 3-0 lead. Lost to the Coyotes 4-3 in the debut of interim coach / former full-time head coach Jacques Martin. And finally, I wish I had an MJ story. I don't have an MJ story. Julian Edelman does, and he shared with comedian Burr Kreischer on the Games with Names podcast.
2014, the week before the Super Bowl, I took my folks to dinner, and I roll up, and I see Derek Jeter and Michael Jordan, and I'm super starstruck. I'm about to play in the Super Bowl, and I go up, and you could tell Jeter's a very charming guy, welcoming. I go, Mr. Jeter, Julian Edelman, I'm playing in the Super Bowl. I saw Jordan. He was kind of standoffish a little bit, and as soon as the conversation's about to end, 5 minutes in, I'm about to leave, Jordan comes up to me and he goes, "Hey kid, I got a bunch of money on you. Don't it up." And that's the only thing he said to me. And I go, "Yes, sir, Mr. Jordan."
Yeah, and that's the only response you can have.
Wow.
Yes, sir, Mr. Jordan.
Okay, two things about that story that are interesting. Number one, Jeter's the charismatic guy out of those two. That was a little bit of an upset.
I've heard people who have hung out with Jeter that if he knows you or he likes you, he is extremely cool.
Okay, so
that's a story I've heard.
But I don't know if he knows Julian Edelman, but him being the more gregarious, charismatic guy out of Jordan, I thought was a little bit of an upset. And number two, I mean, Jordan, how much money do you think he won off this game? Because the final score, 28-24, this is Malcolm Butler at the goal line.
By the way, Jordan betting on the Super Bowl is not a headline. Can we be very, very clear about
Jordan
that?
Betting on,
but him shaking down NFL players definitely is.
Well, it would be a better story if he was
not
like...
surprising, though.
If he was like, I bet a lot against you. You know what to do.
Yeah.
Now, that would have been a story that maybe the feds would have.
You know what I love about this, too, is that, like, he said Jordan was, like, not very friendly, not very whatever. The fact that Jordan had the same game face mode for a big bet that he had for when he was playing in Game 6 of the NBA Finals is still the funniest part of it. Like, he's like, I got this bet next week. I'm not messing around. Can't be having pleasantries with people. You know, just like he had the famous Larry Bird thing. Hey, F you.
Yeah,
you know, and the thing. This is that same guy.
Well, I'm wondering, was the Super Bowl, what do you say, it was a week later?
Yeah, it's a week later.
Okay.
He's already in this mode a week before the Super Bowl.
I was thinking, like, you know, if the game had been like in 48 hours, if it had been like, get out of here. Like, what are you doing out at a restaurant? Now, Jordan would have been in Atlantic City gambling all night before the but no one else can do it.
Do we think there's any lightheartedness, any joking in that sentence, or is it 100% warning to Julian Edelman?
100% warning.
Yeah. No Jordan being Jordan, like, money's there, but I'm also having fun by telling you that I did bet on you.
If he was friendly with him before, I would say yes. The fact that there was no pleasantries at all, no, he was serious.
Jordan's a very obviously experienced gambler. I have no idea if he's any good at it, but he's definitely experienced. Would it be a bet smarter to tell him, I bet a lot of money on you, don't mess it up, even if he didn't, see how Edelman reacts, and then place the bet? Like, if Edelman's like, we got this thing, don't worry about it, goat, like, we're all good, would he have been like, this guy's too loose?
I mean,
maybe he was.
I'm not sure the
feeling
whole
him out.
bet hinged on Julian Edelman's state of mind. Pretty big team sport there.
Did he ask how Brady's ankles were feeling?
You're almost done, Bogusch, because I'm dying.
I'm all the way
dying
done.
to share my team defense nickname.
Come on in.
Oh, okay.
I got two, actually.
More recent than the Legion of Boom.
More recent than Legion of Boom.
A great nickname. Wait, should I take our caller first?
Yeah, and this is another. Yeah, please take our caller, then I'll share mine because they're so brilliant.
Mike is in Central Valley, California. He's got one we overlooked. Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Maggie and Perloff. Hey, I don't know that it's a great nickname. Even as a Niner fan, I don't think it's a great nickname, but the Niners have the Gold Rush. That's their defensive nickname, and they're a great defense to watch, regardless of what Perloff says about modern defenses.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
That's a pretty cool nickname.
Is that really caught on, though?
Yeah, I didn't actually. It sounds vaguely familiar when he said it, but I got two that did catch on.
The Gold Rush is what they call the cheerleaders in San Francisco. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, one that's been around for a long time, Blitzburg in Pittsburgh.
Okay. They don't still call them that.
What's that?
They don't still call them that, do they?
No, but they did recently, right?
I thought that was kind of recent. No?
They were calling Bill Cowher's teams that.
Were they really? Oh, I thought it was more recent. Okay. But one that I double-checked the timestamp. You will never guess this. You don't think of great defenses, but do you guys go back in a time machine? 2018, Blake Bortles at quarterback. And who's on the other side? Saxonville.
That was a thing.
It was a thing.
Yeah, and then it wasn't because it was Saxon.
It was short-lived. But it was a nice play on
Tuesday.
words. It was a nice play on words. We got Yannick Ngakoue, Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson.
You want to talk about sexually suggestive nicknames? I think Saxonville takes the cake, right?
Or you could make it an Old English nickname. Saxonville, whatever. I don't know. It's a nickname. Wait, so we got to find out. When's the last time Blitzburg was actually in a headline? Maybe it's stuck around.
Yeah, Kevin Green was playing.
Thank you, Andrew Bogusch. Coming up, we'll take your phone calls. Our great debate on this Wednesday is, was the NFL better 20 years ago, as Tom Brady has posited, or is it better today? Also coming up, speaking of Blitzburg, the Pittsburgh Steelers, more issues coming out of Pittsburgh. We'll tell you the very latest with one of their wide receivers next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff morning show here on CBS Sports Radio. It's a Wednesday, which means we do great debates around here. And this one is off of a comment Tom Brady made, which is, was the NFL better 20 years ago than it is today? I say yes. Perloff says no. Then this kind of branched off into another conversation about great nicknames for defenses.
Yeah.
How did we get there? Legion of Boom?
Because defenses aren't allowed to do anything now,
Right.
according to you, which I actually agree with.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to give a defense a nickname because they're completely ineffective.
Right, but currently the San Francisco 49ers call themselves the Gold Rush. So we do have that. John is in Arkansas. He's got one from recent history. John, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. What's on your mind?
Good. So it's right around Legion of Boom time, but being a Denver fan, it was no-fly zone.
The no-fly zone, Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. and more. The no-fly zone was a pretty good one.
Aqib, I love that guy.
I know. Found himself in a little bit of hot water, but John, thank you for the call. And that was a good one.
A little bit of hot water.
Well, I don't have the details of the case in front of me.
Yeah, that's okay, but come on. It's not like the old days with purple people eaters and the doomsday defense and the steel curtain. In the 70s and 80s and 90s when defense did rule, you had much better team defensive nicknames. The no-name defense, the Killer Bees.
Also, guys could stay together for a long time, generally, with free agency now and with salary cap issues and things like that, it's kind of harder to keep some of these units together because if you're really good, odds are you're going to get an offer somewhere else. It's like teams that win the Super Bowl. It's hard to keep them together.
Yeah, I don't know if that's it. I think that they were more creative nickname. Like the Fun Bunch. Like who was on the Fun Bunch? Gary Clark? Who cares? The greatest show on turf is probably the last great. What are the offensive nicknames? What do we call the Chiefs?
Well, we got the greatest show on surf.
Yep.
Yeah, with a playoff on
and
the greatest
the Chiefs, they were going by Legion of Zoom for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like that one.
I could too. I feel like I should have caught on more.
Yeah, but it's funny. We generally don't have a lot of. Was that a pandemic nickname? Legion of Zoom?
It was actually. It started in 2020.
Yeah, nobody wants to go back to those
that's
days.
not a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely back in the day, the nicknames were just superior. I will give you that. The sport is more entertaining to me now. Like if you made me sit and watch a 1978 game, I would not be able to stay awake. It was. I'm telling you, you guys are misremembering.
Maybe that's a you problem, Perloff. And
you guys are misremembering. Okay. It was not good football.
Okay.
I've watched a lot of classic football. It is not entertaining.
Okay, but here's the thing. We're not going back to 1978. We're going back to 2003 was 20 years ago. I know that's a little jarring.
The game got much better after they changed the rules.
It did, but here's the thing. Like, let's not conflate the game getting faster for the game necessarily getting better. Like, that's why I agree with Brady on this about the 20 years ago. Like, give me a defense that can actually be the star unit, that can actually go out and win you games. Give me quarterbacks that aren't taking up 25% of the salary cap so I can build out, better teams. Like, just because it's faster, like, yeah, you have more shots downfield, but we still had great wide receivers in the early 2000s. We had T.O., we have Randy Moss.
You had three.
It's not true. We had more, and they're all getting the Hall of Fame now, or they're borderline Hall of Famers.
Right, but the receivers have obviously gotten better, and they've gotten so much more productive. That's why you better have amazing numbers nowadays because there's so many good receivers.
No, also you are just trying to get a flag for defensive pass interference. Now it's just a strategy, where you're going to take these deep shots because it's basically 50-50. You get a 30-yard penalty.
Look at the receivers who enter the league every year now. You have Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I'm trying to think of some. Give me some more. There's a lot.
Zay Flowers.
Every year you draft five. DK Metcalf. There's so many incredible
Stephon Diggs,
physical specimens that come in the league. Every year there's now 5 great receivers in every draft.
Chicken or the egg? They are great receivers, and I know they grew up on 7-7, but also the defenses can't touch them. So of course they're going to look much better.
I think they actually are better. And I also think this one, a lot of people disagree. I think the quarterbacks are way better. They make throws that weren't even dreamed of 20 years ago.
I'll give you this. The quarterbacks are more athletic.
Actually, Lamar made a throw the other day that I still don't quite understand. He had a guy bearing down on him. He just flicked his wrist like that. It was 30 yards downfield in a guy's chest.
Okay, but we had Michael Vick in 2003. Like, we did have Randall Cunningham before him. We had athletic quarterbacks. It's not like today where everyone is basically a good athlete. But you had guys like where I'll say like Thank you for the rivalries in the early 2000s. Thank you for the greatness of Brady versus Manning. We can still debate that today. Thank you for the Roethlisberger, Rivers, for these guys who had to go up against real defenses. We got to see what they were really all about.
Yeah, I think you're also taking the top end games. Now there's just so many more entertaining games. Every week is an adventure. Basically, you have, it's gotten so big, football. There's the in-season, which is the fall when football is playing, and the off-season for the entire sports world when football is not on. It is these singular force. And I think that actually matters too. It's one thing that we can all talk about at the water cooler now is football. I think we're all in on this thing right now. And it just, that makes it more entertaining too, that everybody watched the Cowboys game on Sunday afternoon. So you could talk about it with anyone. I think the popularity is built on itself.
I know there's a lot of people who don't like I'm all for guys getting paid and going where they want to go, but like the musical chairs, if we're going to have that, I know people who don't love that aspect of it and don't love guys who are asking for trades. I mean, listen, it's not like that stuff wasn't happening in the 2000s also. But as far as like the more entertaining product, I think people are just looking at just more touchdowns, and that's more entertaining when there's more to the story than that. It's not just about the big yardage. It's not just about the high scoring. Yeah. And by the way, over the last 2 years, scoring's down and quarterback injuries are up. And I've been told by you, Andrew Perloff, and you, EJ Stewart, that there's so much mediocre quarterback play now. At the top end, you've got great guys like Mahomes and Lamar, Dak Prescott and stuff. But at the bottom, I've got
this year's a
churn.
Fluke. This year's a fluke. How many guys are going to tear their Achilles in 1 year? This is the all-time record.
Maggie and Perloff, 855-212-4CBS.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's destined to get knocked out by Jake Paul. She's destined to film it. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Lots going on today. Glad to have you with us. Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio. Great Debate Wednesdays is what they're called around here. Today, inspired by Tom Brady, who said that football, the NFL variety, was better 20 years ago than it is today. It's inspired us.
The Great Debate Series.
So there we have it. Was the NFL better in 2003 than it is in 2023? And it doesn't have to be that specific season. Was the NFL football better 20 years ago than it is today? And I'm with the GOAT on this one. I do believe that football in the NFL was better 20 years ago. Why? Defenses could actually hit people. Now, I don't love that there are long-term effects of this. I'm not wishing for that era to come back. But if you're asking me, when defenses still mattered in a way that they do not matter today, that to me, you want to talk about the rise in wide receivers, the rise in quarterback, throwing yards, all of this stuff. You can't have the chicken without the egg here. We're getting better offenses, but it's only because the defenses have been neutered.
Well, it's ironic that this year, 2023, if you pull back and look at what are the storylines, there's a lot of defense in the mix this year. Myles Garrett leading the Browns to the playoffs. Micah Parsons being a real force in the NFL. So I don't think it's a down year for defense in any way. But even so, by definition, a more offensive game is a more entertaining game. That's the bottom line. The old school sort of tough guy football person might not like to admit that, but it's just more fun to watch people passing the football than running the football. Curtis Martin, to me, is Nader the high point or the low point?
Sure.
The high point of boring football. Curtis Martin going for 3.6 yards per carry, running on first down, running on second down, the old Parcells style. So boring. I'm so glad that the game is so much more creative and entertaining right now. Even the bad teams are able to pass the ball for the most part, except for the Panthers. So I just think that the football right now, there's so much more motion to it. It's very, very exciting.
Okay, the nadir is the bottom. The apex is the top.
Okay, the apex of boring football, or the nadir of football, in a sense, was that run-heavy 90s, early 2000s football.
Okay, I still think that just because something is faster doesn't mean it's necessarily better. I mean, what are the things that football fans love the most, even more than like a high-scoring, high-flying affair? We love bad weather games. We love snow games. We love rain games. We like these kind of things where it doesn't make it so obvious and easy. And you could have those back then. You can have them today. But that's what I poke holes in your argument here that just because you're throwing a lot of passes, all of a sudden means that the product is better or that it necessarily is more entertaining. Because so many guys are out there just trying to get defensive pass interference. It's like they're barely trying to make a play on the ball. They're just using the strategy of how the game is officiated today to try to make their point. It's not because they're necessarily better than the Terrell Owens and the Randy Mosses and Marvin Harrisons back in the day.
Wait, first of all, who likes rain games?
Well, they're fun to watch at home.
No,
on the comfort of your couch.
Snow games are great. Nobody wants to see a rain-wind game.
Mud Bowl?
I don't know. And snow games are much better when the offense goes off, too. When you actually have a snow game where something happens, it's the best. But rain games are not good. Anyway, I kind of disagree. The receivers are actually way better today. If you look at stats-wise, they kill them, obviously. If you look at the most yards per game per career.
That's because of the rules.
Yeah, also, too, no, I think guys are coming in more talented. They're bigger, stronger, faster. They've been catching the ball since middle school. Back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, high school football was hand the ball off, hand the ball off, hand the ball off, T formation. Now it's a spread. Starting in sixth grade, it is a much more developed sport.
Wait a minute. DK Metcalf is basically like T.O., T.O. was bigger, stronger, faster. These guys still were making these huge impacts back then. And one thing I liked about 20 years ago, I felt like we had rivalries, especially between the quarterbacks. Now, I guess you'd have Mahomes and Burrow, maybe Mahomes and Allen, but, give me Brady and Manning. Give me Roethlisberger. Give me a little Phillip Rivers.
First of all,
had these good rivalries.
What was this Roethlisberger Brady? I don't remember that being a huge thing.
The AFC championships, the AFC playoff games between the Patriots and the Steelers?
How many times did Big Ben and Brady play?
Probably more than 6 or 7.
Did they really? Okay. I'm thinking of Steelers, Patriots. Of course, there was the Bledsoe Cordell game. I'm sure they played, but I don't feel like Peyton and Brady were because they were 1 and 2. I don't remember Ben and Brady being rivals.
They were all there as great QBs.
And Rivers obviously never could win. So for a rivalry, you need one side. Both sides to be close.
Always in the mix. Always in the mix. I like that when quarterbacks weren't taking up 25% of your salary cap. I liked when running backs mattered. I liked when, we were bogged down by a rule book where no one knows what a catch is. There was something that was a bit simpler, and I'm not just being nostalgic here. Literally, it was simpler back in the early 2000s than it is today, where you need to be Gene Steratore to figure out what the hell's going on in a football game.
That's a good line. Although, I'm not sure even Gene Steratore can explain anything that's going on in today's football games.
I love you, Gene.
Yeah, but the funny thing, all that officiating controversy makes the sport more interesting and actually drives up ratings because it's fun to talk about. It just is.
Listen, if we want to talk about the popularity of the sport, I think there's a lot of things that play into that. I think that fantasy football and gambling plays into that because, think about it, you may still watch a game, even a blowout, because you're looking to see whether or not a running back or a wide receiver or quarterback on your fantasy team is going to get you points. I stuck around to the end of that Steelers-Colts game when I had no reason to because I was waiting to see whether the game hit the over. There's a lot of reasons why the ratings are much higher, and I think the other professional sports, quite frankly, have not done a great job in keeping up with the NFL.
I got news for you. People were actually betting on football games in 2003.
Not in the palm of their hand, they weren't.
Yeah, but ratings, first of all, since legalized gambling, that hasn't driven the ratings explosion. The ratings explosion started before, 2021, where it really started getting widespread. NFL has been a rocket ship ratings-wise. Basically, last year I saw 85 out of the top 100 live events of any sport, any event were NFL games. They're killing every other sport. All the other live sports are going down, and NFL over the last 10 years has gone up, 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 up. And I think part of the reason is more offense, because people want offense. Why wouldn't they?
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So there you go. That's our great debate for this Wednesday. Do you agree with me and Tom Brady that football was better 20 years ago, or do you agree with Perloff and EJ? Which side of this are you on?
Oh, I think football was way better 20 years ago. And I think this notion, number one, that receivers are better now than 20 years ago is actually insane to me.
What, Jamar Chase just entered the league. There's so many great receivers.
I would take Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, and Randy Moss over any receiver that's playing today. Any of them.
Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison.
You think
the guy
Marvin
that had
Harrison
20
away
touchdowns
from-
in the season?
Yeah, because Peyton Manning was throwing the football. Is it? You think it's funny that Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison are both Hall of Fame level receivers, and they just happen to have the greatest
Wait a minute,
quarterback?
you keep saying that quarterback play is so much better now, but
you guys are talking about the top
credit.
end.
Wait, hold on. You're giving all the credit to great quarterback play, and now you're saying, well, the receivers are great. I'm like, well, what about these great quarterbacks? You just told me the quarterbacks are so awesome, so don't the receivers have easier balls to catch?
I mean, okay, I understand what you're saying, but it is a glory time for receivers. Every year, 5 incredible athletes can do things that are insane.
Okay, so
come to the
athletes
league. And you guys have to keep bringing up T.O. and Randy
Brandon
Moss.
Lloyd was a
Those are
Brandon Lloyd was a middle-of-the-road receiver. He made some of the best catches we've ever seen, and that was 20 years ago.
So listen, are the athletes going to keep getting better and better? Of course they are, because of nutrition, because of training habits. Hell, Aaron Rodgers almost came back from an Achilles in 3 months. Like, of course we are getting better, where the athletes are going to, evolve just like sports medicine evolves. But the reason I think why they might be looking a lot, the receivers have better numbers and might look better, is because the rules are different. You can't touch guys off the line of scrimmage. You can't touch them going down the field, or you're going to get a 40-yard penalty. And guys like reporters and journalists like Peter King have been railing against defensive pass interference being a spot of the ball foul for years, because it's such an advantage for the offense.
Yeah, I think it actually is a real uptime for receivers. I'm looking at the top receivers this year. Tyreek Hill, unique all-time talent. A.J. Brown, I think, is an incredible talent. CeeDee Lamb, incredible talent. Jamar Chase, incredible. Mike Evans, I go down the list. Devontae Adams, even like the young guys are coming in so fast and so strong, and they all have such great hands. I think receivers are so good.
I can give you Chad Johnson. I give you Steve Smith.
You could go 6 deep in 2003. I could go 20 deep now. I think
there
they're
were
better.
14 guys that caught for 1,000 yards in 2003. 14 in the league that you keep describing was the Stone Age.
Right. Rob is like, they were running the wing
Torrey
tee.
Holt caught for almost 1,700 yards.
Yeah,
so we're at 17 1,000-yard receivers through week 14 now. I mean, listen, I'm telling you, if you want to argue stats-wise, there's no doubt.
Well, the
receivers are better.
record books, but I think the stats don't mean as much. Like, we're talking.
Exactly.
Perloff and I argued about this after the Rams won the Super Bowl, about whether Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer. And it's like, well, look at the numbers. I'm like, look at the numbers. What? I mean, of course he's going to have great numbers because of the era he's playing in and nothing more.
And the other thing, too, about this debate is what I don't like about watching football today is, and it's a problem in not just the NFL, but it's in the NBA and it's in Major League Baseball. It is too much of a copycat league. Every team plays the same. Every defense, for the most part, you're playing cover 3, cover 4. You're letting people throw underneath, which is why these quarterbacks are racking yards and not scoring touchdowns.
That's a 2-year trend, EJ. That is not like a long trend.
No, it's 3. We're talking about football today, right? That's what
I'm
we're
just
talking
saying,
about.
someone finally figured out that you got to lay off everybody against
but
Mahomes.
that's not a defensive plan.
But that's not like a long trend. I'll bet you offenses will adjust to that in a way,
and
too.
then the offenses, it's the same thing. You're either running a Shanahan system or you're running some kind of spread RPO system. There is no contrast. Like, what I loved about watching football back in the day was that what would Peyton Manning do if he had to go to Baltimore and win a tough game? What would the greatest show on turf do when they had to play against the Philadelphia Eagles on the road? Like, those were compelling matchups. And yes, sometimes they were slugfests, but that's what made it great. I don't want to see
contrast styles. There's not that many anymore.
I don't care about Patrick Mahomes racking up 400 yards and scoring 20 points. Like, who cares?
Gosh, I'm looking at recent NFL drafts. The fact that a guy like T. Higgins could be a second rounder in today's NFL just says to me, oh my God, there's so much talent at that position. That guy's ridiculously good, and he was a second rounder.
Okay, what was Randy
Chad
Moss?
Johnson was like a third rounder.
You guys got to stop talking about
Calvin
Johnson. You're talking about Hall of
Calvin
Famers.
Johnson.
I'm going 20 deep. You're going 3 deep. Yeah, T.O. and Randy Moss were awesome. I'm well aware.
Who do you think was the 13th? Who do you think was the 13th? Who do you think was 13th in receiving yards in 2003?
I have no idea.
Terrell Owens.
Who do you think is this year? Devontae Adams.
Right. Okay.
But Devontae's like a Hall of Fame
Right.
on a Hall of Fame track.
Yeah, so
Devontae Adams is probably a top 3 receiver. Like,
yeah, I know. I don't understand. So your point that T.O. is what
no, but
you're
saying I'm
there's
going,
only
you're saying
good
I'm going
receivers
3
now.
deep,
Yeah.
and you're saying, and I'm saying it's not as far off as you think. And you're saying, okay, the 13th guy right now is an elite guy. Guess what? The 13th guy back then was maybe the best.
Oh, and who are the guys ahead of him? They're all Hall of
Torrey
Famers?
Holt, Randy Moss, Anquan Bolden, Chad Johnson, Derek Mason, Marvin Harrison, Laverne Coles, Keenan McCarter, Hines Ward, Darrell Jackson, Steve Smith, Santana Moss, and Terrell Owens.
Santana Moss, Daryl Jackson. I mean, these guys.
Santana Moss was an explosive.
I knew you were going to say Santana Moss was good. Oh, God.
Are you kidding me?
Wait, hold on. Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4CBS. We've got Chris. He's in Oak Creek. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning. First-time caller here.
Appreciate you. What do you have on this great debate of was football better 20 years ago or better today?
I liken, the NFL product today to what happened to the NBA when it kind of transitioned into this during COVID, when you would see the 3-point, shooters taking more 3-point shots and kind of like throwing themselves onto the defender and getting these cheap fouls to go to the free throw line. And you saw how some stats became padded. And now, I don't even watch the NBA because of this. Last night I went to the Bucks game. The Spurs, I think they went like 7 for 37 from 3-point range, and the Bucks were like 19 from 42. And the NBA product was so much better before because you had specialists, for 3-pointers and the big man down at the post. The NFL, it's just become a pass-heavy league right now.
Right.
And what you said, you hit it on the nail. Like, it's just an automatic flag for anyone playing actual defense against a wide receiver.
Right.
Like, it's like...
Unless you're the Eagles on Monday night.
Corners and safeties have no shot. No shot.
I'll tell you one thing, though. Cornerbacks are lazier than ever. They grab like it's going out of... Show me one pass... There is hand fighting, but cornerbacks have gotten so grabby in today's NFL because the defense philosophy is seriously, I'm going to try and get away with as much as I can. That's
Chris, thank you so much for the phone call.
And it works. Seattle is like, we're going to hold on every play. They can't call it every time. That's sort of a modern defensive trend.
Well, I think you're probably just trying to level the playing field as much as you can, right?
Watch Joey Porter in coverage, and I love Joey Porter Jr., but show me one play where he's not put both hands on the receiver. It doesn't happen anymore at all.
But you cannot compare that to what Ty Law was doing to Marvin Harrison in the snow in 2003. And that's the thing, too, I think that bothers me, is that, there's a notion these guys are so better. Yeah, because the game is easier. It's easier to be a wide receiver today than it ever has been. There's RPO plays where essentially gaming the system. The defense thinks it's a run play, and it's a pass. Here's 10 yards, easy. You didn't have that in 2004. You didn't have the opportunity where if you go over the middle, you're gonna get your head taken off.
So you don't think Jamar Chase would have been good in 2004?
He would have been awesome. I believe anybody who was great in their era will always be great in any era. But I think this notion that the receivers today are better. When I don't think you
can they're faster. They're faster and they have better hands because of the way the game is too. You don't need the big guys anymore.
You just said Santana Moss was a tomato can, and you're trying to tell me he wouldn't be one of the fastest guys in the NFL today?
He'd be a lot better in today's game than he was. Trust me, Santana Moss disappointed fan bases for many years.
Let's go
you can't be serious with this.
Marquise is in Winnipeg, Canada. Hey, Marquise, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Fantastic. What's on your mind, pal?
Yeah, I was going to go back to nicknames because I've been probably older than you people. The late 60s, the L.A. Rams had a defensive line. They were called the Fearsome Foursome.
Yeah, we were saying that they used to have great nicknames back in the day. We were wondering where did all the good nicknames go?
And also the Denver Broncos in the 70s, the Orange Crush.
Yep, of course.
So I'm just letting you know, and my first-time caller, and in case you're wondering, 500 miles north of Minneapolis.
Thank you, Marquise, for checking in. I've never been to Winnipeg, and I won't be going in December. But maybe sometime in July or August.
Our buddy Nate Thompson, former NHL player, just did a stint in Winnipeg. He told me you don't have to visit there.
Well, maybe in the summer. Nate is also the only person on the history of the show that came on and then removed a tooth.
Yeah.
What a rock star that guy is. I miss that dude. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We're not conducive now for the hockey lifestyle this early in the morning.
How cold do you think it is today, right now in Winnipeg?
10 degrees.
High, are we doing the high and the
Celsius
low?
There. Yeah. What do you think is the high today?
We're doing this in Fahrenheit, right?
Well, no. Let's do Fahrenheit. Let's do what the weather is currently at 9 a.m.
10 degrees.
I think it's a balmy 12 degrees.
It's actually balmier, 17 degrees.
Oh, well, bring a light jacket.
Yeah. Where's the beach?
What's the low?
The low today, this actually is the low.
Oh, okay. What's the high today?
29.
Fantastic.
It's not a terrible week. I mean, the warmest it's going to get is on Saturday at 33 degrees.
Whoa, outdoor seating.
Yeah, there you go. But, yeah.
Bring the sunscreen.
Next Wednesday, 25 degrees. Not looking good.
Wait, is that New Year's? When's New Year's Eve? 2 weeks, right? We still have some time for that.
Yeah, Wednesday, what is that? It's like the 27th, I think.
Man, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, we have the great debate. You are still welcome to weigh in. Was the NFL better 20 years ago than it is today? You can also vote on our poll at Maggie and Pearl on Twitter. Should mention anyone who's watching in the chats, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. There is still time for you. You hit subscribe, we donate to charity on your behalf. It's so simple. Hit subscribe. We donate $1 for every new subscriber to the Boys and Girls Club. 1 for 1. Perloff, myself, our boss, Spike Eskin, generously contributing as well. So that's all you have to do. Hit subscribe. You've done a good deed. We donate to the Boys and Girls Club, earmarked for youth sports programs. Coming up, we are counting down the top 5 greatest moments of the Maggie and Perloff show from the year 2023. Up next, number 3. Stay tuned.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Things getting heated here on the Maggie and Perloff show. It started out, is football better in 2023 than it was in 2003? Now it's our wide receivers better. A lot of people want to seem to weigh in. I mean, to me, it's not a debate. These guys that are coming in now are so good. So good. You see that catch Drake London made the other day, and he's not even good.
Well, he was really good. He just needs a better, everything in Atlanta. But I'm with Tom Brady on this one. I think football was better 20 years ago. Perloff thinks it is better today. It's the subject of our great debate for this Wednesday. We do this each and every Wednesday. We know we got some new people listening to the show. This is something we like to do around here on Wednesdays. Gary is in Youngstown. He wants to weigh in. Hi, Gary. How are you?
Good, Maggie. How you doing? Love the show.
Oh, thanks.
And I want to talk about the old-time receivers. You guys don't mention Fred Biletnikoff. But back in the day, people didn't want to watch him. Do you know why they didn't want to cover him?
Why?
He had so much stickum on him that the guys that were defending against didn't want to get it on him to make them catches that he made. Nowadays, they have these gloves that are unbelievably not sticky, but they really grip the ball. You didn't have circus catches back in the day. You got circus catches today because of the gloves. All your great receivers are wearing these gloves nowadays. Compared to back in the day, it was all barehanded stuff, if you guys remember that or not.
Yeah, Gary, I mean, you know who agrees with you more than anyone? Jerry Rice has said he thinks that guys today, and Gary, thank you for the call. Jerry Rice says that if they had the kind of gloves they have today when he was playing, it would have been, there'd be even more separation between him and everyone else.
I will give you, gloves are 80% of it. It's crazy. I mean, obviously, what is the most game-changing, iconic play of the last 10 years? Odell Beckham reaching up with one hand, catching it with that glove. Now that's the only way that a young receiver will catch a ball. And we're seeing, it's ridiculous what guys could do now, and gloves help.
Did you guys see Dalton Kincaid when he couldn't have the normal gloves he had? Looked like he couldn't catch.
Well, he had the rain gloves on when it wasn't raining.
Yeah.
And then
he couldn't catch the ball.
I know. And I was like, man, get it together. But anyway. But here's the thing. The circus catches, this is where I would disagree a bit with Gary. I mean, one of the great circus catches of all time is Franco Harris. That was in the 70s.
Come on. You guys keep picking that. First of all, that was a little different. Guys are making catches. Even the guy who's struggling this year, George Pickens, makes catches that guys didn't even dream of in the 70s.
The greatest jump ball guy ever is Randy Moss. He played in 1998. The idea that circus catches weren't happening until 2020 is just
getting mossed is a thing still in this lexicon today because of Randy.
I am well aware, but one thing you have to realize, there was one Randy Moss. There weren't two Randy Mosses. You keep going Randy Moss. Yes, Randy Moss was amazing. Now I'm talking 37 guys are doing incredible things. None of them are as good as Randy Moss or Calvin Johnson. But don't tell me football was great in 2003. Randy Moss couldn't play for everybody. He was one guy. You're taking the top end and making
Torrey Holt wasn't making circus catches in 2003?
Torrey Holt, system guy.
Perloff, that's always what you think. Noah is in Tucson. Hey, Noah, how are you? Noah.
Hey, I just want to say
yes.
That there's not just skinny receivers these days. We got big dudes like A.J. Brown and Metcalf and Debo, and Travis Kelce's just a fat receiver. He doesn't block.
Careful, Taylor's going to come after you.
But
yes.
But the reason, football kind of is. It was better back in the days when they actually ran the ball and actually threw it down the field, hoping to draw a flag. That's why the Niners are good, because we actually run the ball and don't just chuck it.
Well, Noah, you guys do a little bit of everything. I think that the 49ers right now would exist in every era. I mean, people would be blown away by, Kyle Shanahan, how he uses weapons.
It does feel like they have a lot of Hall of Famers going.
Yeah.
But there is an interesting point, and there aren't a lot of DK, but DK and A.J. Brown playing against each other on Monday night, I'm like, those are two healthy dudes. They are not built like Andrew Perloff. There are some gigantic receivers.
Sam's in Erie. Hey, Sam, good morning.
Hey, how are you guys?
Fantastic. What do you think? Football, NFL better today or 20 years ago?
I think 20 years ago, I mean, just look at the quarterback play alone. You can't even breathe on the guys nowadays, and there's so many quarterbacks, probably half the league, maybe more than half the league, that wouldn't even be on a roster 20 years ago.
Oh, they wouldn't be able to beat out J.P. Loeschman or whoever. There were scrubs all over the NFL 20 years ago.
I disagree. I mean, you couldn't even look at even go back a little bit further. Like, you take Dan Marino today or Troy Aikman, Steve Young. Those guys were getting multiple concussions per game and still putting up Hall of Fame numbers today.
That's great, but what about the other 30 quarterbacks? I mean, Jake Delhomme was in the Super Bowl 30 years ago. Is he some superstar? You guys keep saying, yeah, but we had Randy Moss and Tom Brady. Well, yes, there was a bunch of other dudes as well.
You're telling me Aiden O'Connell, Kenny Pickett, Zach Wilson are all going to find ways onto rosters?
These are all mostly injury cases.
Wait, Sam. Good point. Listen, I think here's the thing, and I think we would all agree on this, which is the top of the top, the elite guys. Patrick Mahomes is playing 20 years ago, and he can play now. Josh Allen could play 20 years ago. He could play now. Dan Marino could play, was that 40 years ago? 40 years ago. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And he could play now. The great guys can play in any era. And I think we should also agree about this. The bad guys probably couldn't play in any era. The bottom of the dregs, right? Like the guys who just don't deserve to be in the league. Those are, are just hanging on. Those guys weren't great 20 years ago, and they're not great today. You're always going to have the top and the bottom. We're talking about, is the middle class, was it better 20 years ago than it is today?
Well, I mean, it was 20 years ago. It was not a quarterback league. You look at the teams who were winning the Super Bowl. It was Trent Dilfer in Baltimore. It was Tom Brady before they let him pass the ball, and then it was Brad Johnson beating Rich Gannon in the Super Bowl. Jake Delhomme. It was not a glory time. You didn't win that way back then.
Well, and I think that's part of it is there was other ways to win. Yeah. And nowadays, and EJ made a good point, copycat league, all that stuff, and the quarterback is just everything now. And I kind of like 20 years ago, you could have a little bit of contrast in styles. The fact that Trent Dilfer could win a quarterback and he's like a trivia question at this point, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I'd rather have the superstars. I'd rather see Lamar Jackson play Dak Prescott in the Super Bowl than Brad Johnson versus Rich Gannon.
Well,
I mean, they've had great years.
Because there could be other stars back then. Like, you didn't have to be the quarterback on the top of the bill. I know now we have other guys, Christian McCaffrey, Myles Garrett, stuff like that. But no,
because of the rules, the balance has shifted. It's a quarterback league, and you need the quarterbacks, which is why I am with EJ. This year has been disappointing because of all the injuries. There are a lot of, but anyway, generally, quarterbacks are better, receivers are better, the sport is better.
Andrew Bogusch has headlines. Hello.
Good morning again, guys. Hopefully this is the beginning of only good things from Ja Morant. His 25-game gun suspension over. He scored 34 points in his season debut last night, the last two coming at the buzzer in New Orleans for a 115-113 win over the Pelicans.
Feel like it was the perfect, ending. Perfect day, being able to come back and play and also deliver, a game winner for us to win the game.
The 34 points are the most anyone has scored returning from an absence of 25 games or more. Steph Curry.
That's a wow. That's a huge accomplishment.
And that's anything. Suspension, whatever. Injury.
Jordan missed part of a season. Yep. That's a long record.
He did seem like the cardio was fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I'm not necessarily a huge Ja Morant style of fan, but I got to be honest, I was blown away last night.
I know. Also, Perloff, you called it on social media.
Well, I knew one thing, the Pelicans had no defensive strategy for Ja Morant. They kept on covering one-on-one. Nobody can cover that dude one-on-one. But come playoff time, just create a wall and make him hit a three-pointer. Even the John Morant fans here, you will admit he is not a great outside shooter.
No, he was 0 for 5 last night from 3. Maybe that's where he didn't have his legs under him.
Yeah,
But go to the hoop, he was great.
Steph Curry hit the dagger 3, scored 33 total. The Warriors fought off the Celtics 132-126 in overtime. Kevin Durant had 40, but the Suns lost in Portland 109-104. Damian Lillard scored 40, passing the 20,000-point milestone. His Bucks down the Spurs 132-119. Giannis chipping in 11 points, 14 rebounds, and 16 assists. The nation's number 1 QB recruit, officially a Cornhusker. It is National Signing Day in college football, and Dylan Raiola is now going to Nebraska after backing out of his verbal to Georgia. Texans QB C.J. Stroud now expected to miss a second straight game because of his concussion. Florida State defensive end Jared Verse, a top 15 prospect, declares for the NFL draft. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is the biggest name on baseball's free agent market right now. The mid-20s ace from Japan is wanted coast to coast, but may end up picking between the Yankees and the Mets, which would be a rarity. They very rarely, if ever, have gotten into a straight bidding war on the same free agent. Both teams have had 2 face-to-face meetings with Yamamoto, who's expected to get the richest deal ever for someone coming over from Japan, maybe topping $300 million for a guy who have never have thrown a pitch in the big leagues.
Perloff and I had a debate about this, or not a debate, but we're curious about this. So they're whining and dining this dude, right?
Mets
Yamamoto.
went to Japan and basically knocked on his front door to meet him.
Right. And then he came to the United States, and Steve Cohen is the richest owner in baseball, and they had him over to his house. And Perloff and I had a debate. Do you serve sushi?
Yeah.
I think you do not, because it'd be so obvious. It's like, all right, if someone, it's almost like a caricature, right? You think it'd be a sign of respect.
Well, I was wondering, first of all, you have to have very good sushi to impress him if he's coming from Japan, because I assume even bad sushi in Japan is better than anything you get in America.
Yeah, right.
But I think it shows I'm really interested in accommodating you, maybe.
In your culture.
And everyone loves sushi.
I think maybe you don't do sushi, you do some other Japanese dish that is
Kobe
not,
beef or something?
Commercialized.
Kobe beef? Or is that commercialized?
But what if you flew in the top sushi chef from Japan?
Yeah, I don't think that does it either.
No?
He's probably eating from the top sushi chef.
Right. He's like the 3-time Cy Young winner equivalent in Japan.
What do you do? A barbecue cheeseburgers?
Yeah.
To be
well, I do wonder, Asian culture
Spaghetti?
is so deep in tradition and customs. I wonder what you're supposed to do when you're hosting somebody. Are you supposed to show them your culture?
Right.
So are you gonna serve steak and potatoes and American pie to this guy? I don't know.
I was gonna say, what's the dish in Connecticut?
Yes.
By the way, I would
$8. Just pick up the little
Haven pizza.
Yeah, clam pizza. He'd go running.
If I could have one sports favor from God, if the Phillies swoop in and steal Yamamoto from the Mets, I will come in and laughing so hard on Monday morning.
Especially if it was the cheesesteaks that did it.
No, but don't worry, though. When Yamamoto gives up 6 in a Game 7 of an NLCS, Perloff will say, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, but the Bryce Harper FaceTime this week, and the Phillies said yesterday they're willing to pay anything the Mets will pay for him. I'm just saying.
Wait, Bryce Harper FaceTime Yamamoto?
Yes.
Oh, it makes me nervous.
But the Phillies didn't get a second meeting. He requested to hang out with the Mets and Yankees.
I love Bryce Harper just spending someone else's money. Just being hey, don't worry, we got it. I'm sure the Phillies owner is no, we don't, sir.
The Phillies have a little bit of San Diego Padres in them. That somehow they get their names. They're why do the Phillies have as much money as Steve Cohen and the Mets?
Because when Dave Dombrowski is your general manager, it's the only way you can build a team. That's a deep cut.
You can spend, yeah.
They're analytics. All right, what do you think they served? Well,
can we find? I mean, we need to get our journalist hats on and figure this out.
Maybe I should shoot a couple texts.
Yeah, we know some people around the Mets, and
I might be able to. I might know someone who may have been there.
So at Steve Cohen's house.
Yeah.
Really? So Steve Cohen had a bunch of people over for this dinner?
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the manager and the pitching coach were there apparently.
Well,
at the very least,
and his wife,
of course.
The pitching coach's wife?
No, Cohen's wife.
Oh,
yeah.
She lives there. I'm sure she's there.
She's out of town,
but she was in the meeting, so it's different.
She's very much involved. But see, I think the Yankees, they could. All you got to do, what do you bring in, Tanaka? What if Tanaka's here's the seal of approval with the Yankees?
Matsui?
Matsui would be another one.
Right. And then the
Hideki Arabu?
But like pitcher to pitcher, maybe not Arabu.
Yeah. And all of this has the Dodgers looming, too, because apparently they still could pay him, even though they've already paid for Ohtani. And
Actually, I'd enjoy that more than the Phillies side. For the Dodgers to steal him for both the Mets and the Yankees would be so awesome.
I want a federal investigation if the Dodgers sign him. But we don't need one because they've been open and honest about deferring $680 million.
Right. The Dodgers are not the evil empire because they're so blatant about trying to buy this thing right now. That
And apparently it was Shohei's idea.
Let's switch to college hoops. Men's top 25 action. Memphis steamrolled Virginia in a meeting of ranked teams, 77-54. And Cal State Northridge got a 76-72 win at UCLA. The Matadors hadn't beaten a Pac-12 team in 11 years, so do it now while you can. UCLA had won 29 straight home games.
The Cal State Northridge team is called the Matadors.
The Matadors.
I did not know that. I
Me
know
neither.
Fullerton's the Anteaters, right? Isn't there an Anteater out there?
Yeah, but is that what they are? No, they're the Titans because they're good at baseball. The
Okay.
Anteaters are somebody else in
All right.
Cal.
Keep going. I'll look at it.
Banana slugs.
I'll mention this again. Josh
UC Irvine. Yeah, they're the Anteaters.
Okay. Josh McCown and Chad Pennington's kids played quarterback in last night's Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. Owen McCown and UTSA beat Cole Pennington and Marshall 35-17. And now I'm done.
Okay, Andrew Bogusch, stick around because right now we are counting down the top 5 moments of the Maggie and Perloff show of 2023. Number 5 was...
the Carson Wentz poster.
Yes, number 5, thank you, was destroying the Carson Wentz poster. I'm sorry. Number 4
Thanks, new guy.
was me eating a jar of jelly.
Had to be there.
Yep. And here is number 3.
This reminds me so much of a certain day in Minnesota when the Philadelphia Eagles were going against a red-hot Tom Brady. And Nick Foles came over the sideline, and he said, let's run the Philly special. That is the energy I'm bringing to this peanut butter challenge.
All together now. 3,
2,
1. It begins. All right. It's been unsealed. Perloff.
Oh, my gosh. I'm having a total anxiety
The
attack.
clock is running, man.
Okay.
All right. The first spoonful has been consumed. Again,
I
we
can
are...
already tell you I should have gone chunky. This is going to be very, very hard.
Can I see the jar now? Well, honestly, if you wanted to go for, like, speed...
What is the all-time record? By the way,
The all-time record, no one's ever done this before.
I'm feeling some discomfort in sort of the upper region of my...
Okay. Yeah, talk us through it. Walk us through it.
Yeah, so my stomach feels okay. The rest of me, I don't know, there's something going wrong.
You can breathe, right?
I can breathe.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys. I thought I could do the second draw.
40 seconds.
I flew way too close to the sun.
You...
Now I'm about to throw up all over the sun.
Are you all right? Perloff, if you're not watching, has his face on the desk with his head in his arms. We can't see his face. I'm worried now.
Something feels wrong.
Yeah. Something looks wrong.
I don't feel well.
Ooh.
I'm glad I got through the first jar. That second jar was the biggest mistake of my entire life.
Yeah.
I was doing so good.
It took years off your life. Thank you, Ack, for correcting his grammar. Ack. He kicked dirt in his face with the correcting his grammar.
Ack, honestly, I can choose which way to throw up. I'm definitely going in your direction. So stop talking tough.
Wow.
I think I was poisoned. I think I had peanut butter poisoning.
You definitely did.
Did you have some of that when you ate the jelly? I think overeating a certain food creates some sort of toxins because it felt like I can't remember if I threw up, but I should have.
You should have thrown up on Ack.
Yeah, definitely. There was, so this is reverse order. Perloff ate the peanut butter before I ate the jelly. You'll see the theme. We'll have EJ eat a loaf of bread at some point. But
Great.
Perloff ate, what you did that day was so heroic. It may not have come off that way in the edit, in the live stream. But Perloff ate an entire 16-ounce jar of peanut butter, and he had 30 minutes to do it. And he did it in like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So he opened up a second jar and then went for the second jar of peanut butter.
I was so sure I was going to down it.
And you got like 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah, then the poison hit my system.
And all of a sudden your gallbladder was like,
I think
no mas.
I think my body couldn't process all that peanut butter. By the way, did not eat peanut butter for 6 months.
Yep.
Fully back on the train, down about a half a bottle of Skippy last night.
Really? Watching John Morant?
Yeah, it was the exactly. That's exactly me sitting there on the TV. I was at a kids event, got back at about 9:30. Open up, I'm like, didn't have dinner, just opened up the Skippy jar and had a glass of milk and went to town.
Did you have your blankie too?
Oh yeah. No, pretty much. Yes, I did. I call it a throw.
A duvet.
Wow. Okay, so that was number 3. I'm going to be honest, that's an upset. I thought that could have been the number 1 moment for the Maggie and Perloff show of 2023 because the peanut butter begat the jelly. It was our big YouTube push for subscribers. That so much was like centered. It was our to date our biggest YouTube audience.
Well, it's funny. I actually thought Carson Wentz was going to be number 1. So the fact that was number 5 to me says I don't even know what the top 2 are.
Where it's a mystery to us. This is an EJ production. So thank you.
Yeah, it's great. The guy that's been here for 2 months is telling you guys how your year went.
The day Maggie and Perloff hired EJ.
In a landslide. 855-212-4CBS. Perloff has to go to jury duty. We have college football bowl updates to get to. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie and Perloff. Perloff has gone to jury duty with the never-ending grand jury duty that he has to do. We've been asking you today, our great debate Wednesdays around here, was the NFL better 20 years ago than it is today? This is something that Tom Brady said. We go to the poll on Twitter at Maggie and Pearl. 74% of you agree with Tom Brady and me and EJ that the NFL was better 20 years ago than it is today. Now, I've made a lot of cases for why it was better 20 years ago. The one thing, now that Perloff's gone, the one thing that I'll say that he never brought up about why the NFL is better today than it was 20 years ago, the one thing that I'll give him, going for it on fourth down, it's like automatic now for most teams. Like the analytics in that part of it, I think have really helped. Now, not every coach does it. Not every coach applies it correctly, and it can still be infuriating. But 20 years ago, nobody was going for it on fourth down. It was very rare. 2-point conversions never happened. You know, the strategy, I think, is a little bit better in this day and age than 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I think it's creating also like momentum shifting moments in games that we didn't have 20 years ago.
It's why my answer kind of lives in the middle here. The game should be better now, but it's not because of so many other dumb things the NFL and owners and teams have instituted. The way too complicated rules, all that kind of stuff is completely hamstrung what should be better. Better athletes, better preparation, better thinking. It should be better, but it's not.
Let's get to our shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. Today's shot of the day. So our debate about whether or not the NFL is better 20 years ago or better today led to us talking, obviously, a lot about defense, because defenses could actually impact games more 20 years ago than they can today, which led us to nicknames for great defenses. We wondered, have there been any recently?
You will never guess this. You don't think of great defenses, but you guys go back in a time machine. 2018, Blake Bortles a quarterback. And who's on the other side? Jacksonville.
That was a thing.
It was a thing. Perloff was so proud
and then it
of
wasn't because it was Saxon.
It was short-lived, but it was a nice play on
Tuesday.
words. It was a nice play on words. We got Yannick Ngakoue, Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson.
You want to talk about sexually suggestive nicknames? I think Saxonville takes the cake, right?
Wow, EJ, didn't see you coming in with that one. Perloff was so proud of that when he's like, ooh, I've got one.
I'm pretty sure I heard him saying it to himself and laughing again about it, walking to the bathroom after that segment. Like, why didn't they get it? Saxonville, that's great.
Also love a good time machine. Do-do-do-do. We still have time for EJ to give us his 1-minute college football bowl blitz.
And it's funny here because we actually don't have a bowl game today. So there is no bowl game. So this is an Andy Perloff idea. He said I should do an anti-bowl thing, which is kind of sucks. I kind of want to celebrate the bowls, but there are plenty of athletes who won't be playing in the bowl games this season because they're going off to the NFL. That includes Caleb Williams, Brandon Rice of USC, Drake May, Tez Walker of UNC, Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner at LSU, Trey Benson, Johnny Wilson, Jared Verse, and Jaheim Bell, FSU. Cam Kitchens, James Williams, Leonard Taylor of the U, Pinstripe Bowl, Talua Tagliavoa, Music City Bowl, not playing. Braylon Allen of Relaya Quest Bowl, not playing. Also, Notre Dame stars Joe Alt and Sam Hartman not playing in their bowl game. So a lot of guys not playing, but it doesn't mean you should not watch because you may be seeing some of the stars of next season taking the field over the next few weeks.
All right.
If you say so.
Why isn't Talia Tagovailoa playing? That's just one name I'm pulling out
It's
there.
a little weird.
Is he a first-round pick?
Well, the kid from Western Kentucky the other day, I mean, he didn't play, and everybody was like, why?
Listen, I get it if you're sitting on $20 million or whatever, first-round pick, $20 million guaranteed. But if I'm not, don't you want to play in the bowl game?
I will say this, though. People sleep on these bowl games. The Joe Burrow come-out party happened in the Fiesta Bowl against UCF. That was a massive performance in him. He had a big game in that game. He didn't have a great season his first year at LSU. That really was a precursor to the Joe Burrow Heisman Trophy year and the career he's had over in Cincinnati.
Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you to Ryan Botcher. Thank you to Andrew Bogusch. Thank you to Andrew Kaplan. To the Weedos and the coffee drinkers in our chats, thank you. Hit subscribe. We'll donate to charity. See you tomorrow.